All right, so we're live now. You can see people starting to come in, but we're going to give it about.
Can they see us?
They can see you, yes.
Can they hear us?
Just do everything that you've ever wanted to do.
All the things. Stab myself in the eyes with a pen.
Creative use of nearby objects. Have chocolate chips bag. Peanut butter. Clone.
Chocolate chips and peanut butter right within reach. I'm so impressed.
Like that tells a story, doesn't it?
That tells a lot. I just like that. First of all, I've always been impressed with you, but it just ratcheted up. You never want to keep that peanut butter far from you.
You can't, well, because it helps me remember to eat, and remember to, like, it both reminds me to eat, that it's there, and it is something that I'm willing to eat, usually, like, regardless of how I'm feeling.
Oh, I'm willing to eat peanut butter constantly, but I don't need to be reminded to.
I go through, like, sometimes my appetite is like normal, sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's like really bad. And in the really bad times, the peanut butter and chocolate chips are like, if I'm focusing a lot, if I'm like in working or anything like that, I don't know, I just don't remember to do self-care things like eating and going to the bathroom regularly, like that kind of stuff. Just very basic.
Do you keep night food next to your bed?
I don't keep a night food. I keep a night, like, I have like LaCroix or water or something that I keep down at the foot of the bed. Do you keep night food?
I sometimes have been known to go to bed with some Baby Bell cheese.
But that's all part of
like
getting to know yourself. Like, knowing, like, if you wake up and it's like, I want some night food, and that happens enough times, then it's like sort of like ethical to do that for yourself.
It just seems like a kindness. I think are we supposed to be talking, or are we supposed to be awkward, or are we supposed to be awkwardly talking?
Yeah, I don't.
I want to
remember happy just chatting. Hi, everybody who's joining us. We're so delighted that you're all here. You guys broke the internet. There were no more tickets left. Like, I didn't know that you could sell out an event online. This is like, it's like Shea Stadium. It's incredible.
Oh man, I'm just noticing there's a feed. Okay, I can't watch chat because I'm gonna just like zero in on words.
All right. Well,
very distractible.
We can go ahead and get started. It looks like, wow, there's so many people here. It's amazing. I just want to thank everyone out there for joining us for tonight's event. I'm Emily. I'm one of the event hosts here at Powell's. Before we begin, I just want to make a couple housekeeping announcements. Please check out our lineup of upcoming events online at powells.com. We're looking forward to welcoming Jewel Parker Rhodes tomorrow and former Congresswoman Katie Hill on the 28th, among many others. And please do follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and sign up for our weekly events email. Tonight, we're so incredibly honored to welcome Allie Brosh in conversation with Elizabeth Gilbert. And we're so excited to have this amazing crowd. Like they said, we sold out, which we were not expecting. Right now, I can see 634 of you out there, and it looks like we have more people joining every minute. And I think that's just such an amazing testament to the impact that Allie's stories have had on so many of us. As you all know, Allie is the author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, Hyperbole and a Half, which was the Goodreads Choice Award winner for Best Humor Book of the Year. Her new book, Solutions and Other Problems, is her first book in 7 years, and we have all been not patiently waiting, but it was more than worth the wait. Her stories are hilarious, poignant, candid, cathartic, relatable, and sometimes incredibly devastating. You made me both laugh so hard and cry reading your book. I can't remember the last time I laughed that hard, and that's exactly what we all need this year, when it feels like we have so precious little to laugh about and take joy in sometimes. As you say, nobody should have to feel like a pointless little weirdo alone. I loved that line. She'll be joined in conversation by New York Times bestselling author of Eat, Pray, Love, and Big Magic, and National Book Award finalist Elizabeth Gilbert. Thank you so much for being here. So one more housekeeping announcement. This includes a Q&A. There's a Q&A module on the bottom of your screen. If you'd like to ask a question, please insert it in that box. As well, if someone asks a question that you would like to know the answer to, please upvote that question to make sure it gets answered. Now, please welcome Allie Brosh and Elizabeth Gilbert.
Thank you so. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Powell's. You are my favorite bookstore in the entire world. And we were discussing, Allie and I were discussing, like, I think maybe everybody's favorite bookstore in the entire world. And so it's so wonderful that you're hosting this, and I'm so honored to be part of it. I've, like the hundreds of people piling into this virtual room, I have loved you, Allie Brosh, for so many years. And I feel like it's long overdue that we meet in what counts for person these days.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get started by first of all saying that I would have said that there could be no better book than Hyperbole and a Half. Like I would have laid down that claim that it couldn't possibly be done. I love Solutions and Other Problems even more. And
that is so relieving to hear. That is so relieving. I was so worried.
How can that even be? I love it even more. And I have all these questions for you, but I realize that they're very funny to me because they're very similar to the questions that people often ask me. And they're probably questions that you get a lot. But the one that I wanted to start with was, you are so beloved, and you can see it in the comments, and you can see it in the way that people respond to you online. And you've always been so particularly dear to people. We know you so intimately, and we feel like we do anyway. And a question that I'm going to ask you, that everybody asks me, is it weird to walk around in a world where everybody knows all these secret private things about you that you told them?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I don't feel like there's really like a model for that, you know, like it's something that like you learn how to do as it's happening. I didn't think to ask those questions ahead of time, like how, if this happens, how will I feel about it? How will I deal with it? It's weird, but also great. I mean, like, I can't complain, certainly. Yeah, I think that I feel sometimes a bit like baffled by it. I mean, I think everybody kind of feels weird about themselves, and it's like, all right, I guess, like, if you guys are weird.
You're all just exactly like me. Well, there's one thing in the book. Well, I love everything in the book, but there's one moment in the book where you go off on one of your amazing sort of fever dream tangents that we all love so much. And it's about this very particular anxiety that you have, that somehow your consciousness is going to be hacked and people will be able to see your daydreams, which are so completely strange and weird and alarming that it would just be a nightmare if people knew about them, at which point you then tell us about them and then draw them in living color, including you, like, you know, like Liam Neeson needs help riding these dragons, you know, like all this incredibly specific stuff. And so you are both the person who is terrified of having her daydreams hacked and the person who hacks into them herself and then puts them out there for all of us to see. And you also have described yourself as a hermit and as a recluse. I mean, these are words that you yourself use very, very proudly, and I think very accurately. So there's this amazing dichotomy between, here's everything open, and then this other piece, which is everything closed. And do you think that is necessary for your particular creative process, or how does that work in your imagination?
So I think when I'm scared of something, I have this like drive. So it feels like weakness to me to be scared of things. And so, and I don't want to be weak. And I have this like weird compulsive drive to, like, you know, be as strong as possible despite being a very like sensitive creature. And so I think it's sort of a attempt to like force myself to deal with it, to force myself to, I don't know, to face this thing, to like, you know what, I don't have to be afraid of people seeing my daydreams, because I'm just going to tell them I'm going to do it. And then that isn't going to be a fear anymore.
You can't hack into my daydreams. I'm going to actually show them to you. It is a kind of way of taking back power. You and I were talking about this before we went on, about you know, this idea of take this thing that you're the most terrified of happening and then just go ahead and do it, as a way of feeling like you're not so out of control of the universe. One of my favorite chapters in Solutions and Other Problems is when you decide to conquer all your fears at once. This is for those of you who haven't read the book yet. You know, I won't spoil it, but you do decide to conquer all your fears at once by taking all of the drugs that you can get your hands on, watching all of the scariest movies in the world, and then going out into the woods in the middle of the night to terrify yourself. And it's so extreme, but I also get it, because one does get so weary of one's weaknesses, and it's like,
yeah,
I
you just kind of want
want
to get rid of them.
with.
Like, stop bothering me. What, you become desperate almost to like I will do anything to not have to feel so scared and weak all the time.
So Allie, I think you were going to read, right? I think I jumped
Are we
ahead with
gonna?
you. Aren't you going to
Well,
are you going to give us Richard right now? Is that the plan?
you know, I was since we'll have like a little bit more time for me to talk afterward. I was thinking maybe you and I don't know how Powell feels about this. I'm just floating this.
I'm
I could do
happy.
reading.
You know what?
Like,
I think we get to do whatever we want.
okay. Well, so like we're already kind of going.
We're
Like,
already kind of going. Should we just
and
go with
then
it?
because yeah, like you have a more limited amount of time. So let's talk for the and then we can do like when you need to sign off, then I can start the reading. Does that sound, is that a weird way to do things? I don't know, like
That
trying
sounds
new
great.
things.
I like the flexibility of it. Should we check in with Powell's? Are you guys cool with that?
Yes, let's check in with Pals.
They've left.
Oh, here they come.
You're absolutely cool with that.
Great.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. I just have this very childlike need to check with a grown-up before
Me
doing
too.
anything in case of getting in trouble. So there's so much to say about this book. One of the questions that I have for you, and I'm sure a lot of people have had it, is first of all, there was a relatively long, and I feel like that's almost aggressive to say that, but there was a you know, people get fussy when you have long breaks between things, but there was a 7-year period between Hyperbole and a half, and
That's a long period. I can like I feel
you
no.
know,
I I feel
hmm,
like it is an accurate description to call 7 years long.
it's, you know, it was, I'll say this, it was longer than those of us who love your work wanted it to be. And I'm sure that you felt the pressure of that, but I also found it interesting that because you've been so open about your struggles with mental illness and with depression and pain and loss in your family, that 7 years felt very loaded for me, and I think for other people, where there was a sense of, is Allie Brosh okay? And in fact, if you Google Allie Brosh, the question that comes up as the most Googled question is Allie Brosh okay?
Is it really?
It is. So I know I'm not the only person who wondered that and who wanted to know if you were okay. And you're not obliged to answer that, because I know that's a question that moves like a target through our emotional lives. But you went through a lot in the last 7 years. And were there periods where you were simply not drawing, or did it take a long time to do? Like, what was your work like during that time?
So I would work in fits and starts. Like there would be times where I would feel like ready for it, and I would just, tuck in and write for 18 hours a day, like no breaks, just until the inspiration ran out. There are other times where I was doing other things because I wasn't feeling like able to write.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a bit of like just getting used to being comfortable in my own head, running around outside by myself. Gosh, I'm low key kind of working on, because like people have been asking me what happened in that time period. So I've kind of been going through and like looking at photos that I have. Like I don't take a ton of photos, but I have some from like different projects I was doing or whatever, and putting together like maybe a slideshow of here I was playing this game at this point, or driving through Arizona apparently at this point. Spent a lot of time at the how do you call it? It's a thing called The Thing. It's a like attraction in Arizona on like interstate. Goodness gracious, I'm not going to be able to describe this. it is an
I am
oddity
dying for you to
that you
describe
see.
this. Just do your best.
So you see the signs for it as you're driving along, whatever interstate it's along. Don't worry about it. And it says thing with like a bunch of question marks on it. And so I was curious. We were staying in Arizona for a month and a half, trying to do like the Shining type writer's retreat there. And I'm weird about bathrooms. And so I wanted to find a public bathroom. If you can believe that, I'm less weird about public bathrooms than like bathrooms in a house. That was the closest bathroom. So I would drive 45 minutes every day to hang out at the thing, which is like a truck stop in the middle of nowhere, Arizona, that has this like oddity museum attached to it, which I won't spoil. It was a crazy experience for me. But sort of stuff like that, I guess that's like an example of the type of thing I was doing.
Okay, that's not a type of a thing.
But if you can imagine it being a type of thing, like
specific thing that you just
yes, but
described.
it's all that. So it's like hard to pin it down because it's mostly stuff that would be like that level, that amount of explanation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, so I would have to explain the like bathroom situation and then why I was doing this and why we were in Arizona to begin with, and then but yeah, a lot of hanging out in public bathrooms. Sometimes I'll like lock myself in there if I'm just like having a weird time. Little bit of drugs, a little bit of getting to know new people, a little bit of traveling, playing lots of games. I play Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering a lot. Yeah, writing the book was a significant undertaking. When I sat down for like the final push, that part took, God, I remember it was right before my friend Joey's wedding, which was in August 2018. So yeah, that took 2 years.
And then and at that point, it was just like, you were like, you had your blinders on and you were just doing the
sometimes
work.
there'd be some days where I would like take a break or even like maybe a week, but not much more than that. And it would just be like solid hours of writing and drawing. Drawing that many pictures takes a very long time.
Yeah, do you do I'm sorry to ask naive questions, but do you write the story first and then draw the pictures?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yes, I've learned to do that. It didn't used to be that way, but it turned out to be like pretty inefficient because
because editing words is easier than editing.
Yeah. And so I get all of the text done, and that takes the longest. Like drawings, I have a much clearer idea of where I'm going when I sit down, and it's a less like fraught process, I feel like.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask how, like, what your writing process, like whether you feel like it's the question was on deck, ready to launch. And it's a hard one to ask. Not because it's like weird or anything, but I guess I was just wondering a bit about your writing process and about how things take shape from like the beginning to. I know that's probably a question you get asked.
No, it takes a really long time. It takes me an average of about 5 years. So this is why I was being gentle with you about the 7 years. It takes quite a while for it to go from idea to page. And for me, it's front loaded because I do a lot of research for my books usually. So for me, it's like 98% research and preparation. And that's most of the years. And I have this elaborate system of like files with index cards and characters, just like I'll end up with like 7 shoe boxes filled with note cards.
That's awesome.
Filed in these really elaborate ways. It's a huge amount of preparation. But then once I start actually writing, when I sit down to write, it's usually really fast, probably because of all the preparation. And then it's kind of like swimming the English Channel in one breath. It's like, okay, I'm in and I'm not coming up until this is done, like it's just like one fast push. And then I just sort of sit and stare at a wall for a year, which is the phase that I'm in right now. And I think that sitting and staring at walls for years is kind of a very important part of the creative process, actually underestimated.
I'm beginning to realize that too. that like having time for thoughts and to like, because if I'm always in the mode of trying to like create something or force something to be like in a structure,
Yeah.
it's hard to have that. It's hard to think new types of thoughts. You know what I mean? Like it's you got to have experiences or do things. Like I had to spend a lot of time getting to know myself, getting to like learn about what I'm like as an animal um and the types of things that I'm like trying to say, like that I really want to say, rather than just like, I think like the first time I wrote the book, which was in 2015, I think I was gonna publish this book in a very different version of itself. And I think I didn't really know what I wanted to say then. It was more of just oh, here are some things I can say, or like, I feel like I should say. And yeah, it takes a long time to, I'm beginning to realize that it's part of the process to like.
I think that shows extraordinary discipline and self-awareness to not just put it out there into our slobbering jaws of
I don't know if it
of
was
the,
as much discipline as like,
the
oh no,
hundreds of
nobody's gonna
thousands
like
of
this if I.
people who are like, give us another Allie Brosh, where is it? You know, like instead of just honoring us, I love that you honored, you know, you waited till you got it where you got it to feel like something, that and it feels like something. That's what I
Thank
want to say
you.
about the book, is that it's it has an emotional through line that is so elegant
Thank you so
and
much.
so touching. Actually get sort of choked up just saying it. It's such a beautiful and emotional book, and it's so honest and vulnerable, and I love that, when you write about your sister who took her life, and you write and you stick it right in the middle of the book, and I could feel that every single thing about what you chose to share, where you chose to put it in the book, was so curated, studied, thought about, with and so again, I just keep thinking of the word elegant.
Thank
um,
you so much. This is a huge compliment. I
Really, and as somebody who like, grief is a very hard. My partner died a couple years ago, and
oh my
you
God.
say in this book that you say, I just wanted to. At the end of the chapter about your sister, you said, I just wanted to. I'm going to paraphrase because it's somewhere in my piles of notes. But you said, I just wanted to say everything about her and all of it in the right way, and I
Yeah.
don't know how. And I so admired that you ended on that, because so much of what one reads about grief has a sense of manufactured closure.
Yeah. That was
And
my
that is
experience
not
as
how I
well.
experience grief. I don't
Yeah.
experience grief to have closure.
Yeah. Well, because
um,
I don't know if it seems like permanent closure isn't necessarily like possible.
mhm.
Like it's that there's never going to be anything that like where I'm just like, oh, I don't miss my sister at all. Like, but
And
um,
not, maybe not healthy either, you know. And
yeah,
I think we live in a
yeah, it might
culture
not.
that wants things to be a lot tidier than things are. and
Yes.
and something that I think part of the reason that we all adore you is because you just are the person saying, no, this isn't tidy, and it doesn't make sense, and I don't know how to do any of this, and it's madness, and I'm trying my very hardest to figure out how to operate the machinery that is my mind, and it's not clear how to do that. And I think, the I always want to call it an essay. I don't. What do you call them? Do you call them chapters?
I get stories, chapters, posts, essays, and any and all of the above work.
So
Um,
the I'm going to call it an essay. I guess that shows my writerly,
I like essay. I think it's
my writerly prejudice. The and an essay comes from, in Italian, the word for essay is, saggio, which means wisdom. So like an essay is an attempt. An essay also means to try, you know.
oh,
So
that's perfect.
right. So
Like
like,
trying is like my theme
right,
lately.
that is your theme in life, and like, you try really hard,
I
like
do.
you
I
like
try so hard.
you try so hard. And this essay at the end of the book, it hit me, just it hit me so profoundly, because it's about you making this decision, a very deliberate decision, that you're almost felt like your last best hope, in order to navigate the world,
Yeah.
and your mind,
It's
was
very much
to
that.
befriend yourself in a way that, this is the kind of language that gets tossed around in the new age circles where I roam more than you, but like this idea of befriending yourself, it can be thrown about very cheaply as though it is an easy thing. And
Yeah.
it is the absolute hardest thing in the entire world, and also the most important. And I really do honestly believe that the quality of our lives depends absolutely and entirely on the voice in your head that is talking to you and how it speaks to you.
Yeah.
Because that's the
I mean,
person that
that's,
you're going to live with your whole life. And your voice in your head and the way that it spoke to you. I'm just quoting from Hyperbole and a Half, you saying about yourself, unfortunately, the source of my shittiness is the fact that I am shitty, is one. And another one is you yelling at yourself and calling yourself a lazy floor banana motherfucker. Like there's all this, and you are so, because of the fact that you're a graphic artist, you're able to show this division so clearly that we all have in our minds between this terrorist who lives inside of our head and is so vicious, and then this creature that was dropped onto earth, like out of like an airport cargo thing, and just has no
it's so
idea how
confused
to
and
be.
scared.
And it's trying to learn how to be at the same time that this other thing is saying, you fucking suck at everything. You're
It's
this
just scaring it even more.
monster. And it's just getting worse and worse. And then there's this decision that you made. And what I love about it is that you break it down on like what it takes to befriend yourself. And you also show us how long it takes, and how that really traumatized creature that's been screamed at by the terrorist its whole life is so distrustful. And why would it not be, and then you
Yeah.
having to sort of change and like learn what does the creature like? What are its hobbies? What does it want? What weird things does it want to do? I'll do that with you. And so I just, by the end of that section, and Emily from Powell's at the beginning quoted the last line of the book that's so beautiful about, nobody should have to be a weird, oh my God, I don't get
Pointless little weirdo
a
alone.
pointless little weirdo alone.
You don't have to memorize it, Liz. It's
Well,
okay.
that line I kind of feel like I do. So my question is, how is that going? How is Project Friend going? And what was it like creating that essay and that amazing thing?
So that was, I've been saying that's like my favorite chapter in the book, because it was a thing that I saved, like deliberately saved to work on when I was feeling bad or lonely or anything like that, because it was telling the story of, how I became friends with myself, which is it's like reminiscing with your friends about how you became friends. And I do feel like I'm friends with myself now. Like I can see myself with more like compassion and understanding. And there's not like I still feel frustrated at times and feel embarrassed or bad, but it's not, I think the relationship has gone from abusive to healthy. And it's I like having myself to keep me company. We were emailing about this, and you were
Yeah.
talking a little bit about yourself as your favorite roommate and friend, and that is very much kind of how I see it, as like I have written conversations with myself, where I'm saying, hey, how are you? And then I describe my feelings and talk back and forth, and pretty soon we're joking and everything's okay. And that is something that I like.
Did anybody teach you this?
So a friend of mine, we were like running partners for a while, and we'd go out on runs, and I forget how it came up, but she was saying that she does this thing where she uses her right hand and her left hand to talk back and forth, like so her left hand writes one side and her right hand writes the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And that just seemed like such a cool idea to me, and so I wanted to, I don't do the right hand left hand thing. I just type back and forth because that like gets me to do it. But yeah, it's been a tremendous tool.
it's so, I do the same thing. That's why I was asking if anybody, I've done it for 20 years. And
20 years.
well,
That's
it takes a long
incredible.
time to make friends with yourself when you
Yeah.
think that you're a fucked up little floor banana motherfucker. You know, like it's a really long process to undo all that self-hatred and just learning how to be kind to this. I love that you referred to yourself as an animal. Can you say a little bit more about that? Because sometimes when I try to teach this to people and try to get them on the other side of self-hatred, I say, just imagine that you adopted yourself from a pound,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
were a really abused and traumatized animal, and how would you treat it and how would you speak to it? But so tell me about you as your identification is a kangaroo pig? Is that how you described yourself?
I wouldn't know how to describe the like animal I see myself as. It's like but it's the way, whatever animal that I draw myself as is the animal that I am. And yeah, it's sort of just realizing that I am trying my hardest, and the mistakes I'm making are because I don't know what I'm doing. Like I think that I have good intentions, and I have a good drive to like have integrity and everything. I just don't necessarily always know how to do it. And a good way to relate to that I found was thinking of myself like I would think of my animals, as this isn't like, they aren't embarrassing me. They're just like, they don't know better. It really is this like scared small creature that wants to make everybody happy, but doesn't know how. And like, maybe a better way to deal with this creature would be to like be kind and gentle with it rather than yelling at it, because that doesn't breed a lot of like trust and cooperation with other creatures. Yeah, so just like thinking of myself as an animal, I think does help me feel more compassionate for myself. It does, and also like take myself down from all of the like human type things that I'm always trying to like impress people with. Like, oh look, I got these like this cool new jacket, or I have, it's not this one. This is an old jacket.
We think it's cool, Allie. We think it's cool.
But like animals don't have those concerns, and so like, and I don't think the part that I refer to as an animal has those concerns either. It doesn't understand why the mean one cares about jackets or impressing people or anything like that. How does it break down for you? And we were emailing a bit about this too, like the way the division of the like friendship lines up. Like, is there
It's
one
more of
character
like a mentorship than a friendship. It's more of like it's a mothering thing. So the way I see it is I write from my fear or shame or anger or pain. And I write to love, capital L love. And then I just try to imagine what an unconditionally loving spirit, force, human. It's very simple, actually. I just write back to myself what I wish somebody else would say to me.
I think that's pretty much what
The thing
I
I've
do
always
too.
wanted, and that's, for me, that's generally along the lines of like, there's nothing you can ever do to lose my love. That's the thing you always want to hear, right? Like, you belong to me. I don't, whatever, no
Yeah,
matter how much you fail, I've
reassurance, like
reassurance, like I've
having your
got,
own approval.
yeah, I've got you, even if nobody else has got you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's changed. It's really changed my life. I mean, now I was going to ask you how you're doing during COVID, because I know that's a question that we all are asking each other these days. But how has your COVID been? And I was also wondering if you're like me, where like maybe you spend so much time alone anyway, it hasn't perhaps
It,
been all that different
yeah,
from
it
normal life.
hasn't.
But I
It
didn't want to
wasn't an
assume.
immediate change, but like I do notice the way it affects like other people, or the way it affects like even um, in other conversations I've been having. It's come up like how the internet has changed
Mhm.
since like I've been gone. And one of
Oh,
the things I notice is that people are like so much kinder to each other. It's like everybody realizes how fragile we are, and they like, there are obviously trolls and everything out there still too, but overall it seems like everybody's a bit like scared and sad and just wanting to reach out to each other for comfort and reassurance. And I think that's been like the biggest thing I've noticed as far as like the way the world feels different to me is like both wanting to like care for people because it's everybody's having a hard time, and also being like reassured that we're responding like this, you know, that people are wanting to take care of each other, wanting to like wear masks to protect each other, wanting to just reach out and ask how each other are. And you know, if you see comment threads, people just jump in and say, hey, I'm here to talk, you can message me if you want. That, I think that's mostly what I've been noticing, because I do stay indoors most of the time reading comment threads, and that's how it's how it's popping up. How about you? How is it?
It's been quite, you know, I feel like I've been divided between my personal intimate self has been just fine because I really, really like being alone. And I had a year and a half of events canceled in 1 week, and I was like, cool.
Yeah, that
Like
would
you know, I just like, wow, I've never had this much time in space alone. I have a little house out in the country in New Jersey, and it's been very beautiful. I've never had more time alone in my life than I've had in this year. And it's been very precious in a way. And then of course there's this other self who's like deeply aware and concerned about the world's pain, and feeling that world's pain, but that pain isn't mine. And I think sometimes it's very important to distinguish between other people's pain and
yes,
yours.
that is very true.
Yes, and to just be like, I can see that, and also not, if I take that on, you know, to a point where I'm going to get sick, it's not going to be of help, because I do want to be a helper. And I know you've described yourself as wanting to be a pathological helper. And I think you are that, for so many people. I can't tell you how many people I've read or heard in person, including my beautiful 22-year-old niece who's on this video.
Mimi.
Mimi,
Hi, Mimi.
who's watching you right now, who say like,
Oh, I saw my mom say something.
I never felt so seen. Oh, she just wrote, hi. She
Hi,
said,
Mom. Hi, Mimi.
I've never felt so understood. I've never felt like somebody got my mind, you know, quite as much as by reading your work. And
I felt that way seeing the video. I assume it was you taking the video.
Yeah, of her
Of
reading
Mimi laughing. I like seeing that amount of laughing. Well, this person gets me. Like clearly, if she's laughing that hard.
Completely, you know, and I heard when you did that interview with Mark Maron years ago, and this is something I think a lot of creative people feel, is that you spoke about a kind of selfishness of creativity, or like, I must, he was great about kind of challenging you on that, because you were sort of pathologizing.
He's great about that in general.
Yeah,
I very much
like,
value Mark.
you know, it's not like you were saying, like, I must just be somebody who needs a huge amount of attention. And one of the obstacles I think a lot of people have about doing their creative work is that they feel like it's a selfish thing to do. You should be doing humanitarian work in a refugee camp. You shouldn't be, you know, drawing pictures and writing books. And yet, my friend Rob Bell, who's a wonderful minister and writer, he said, the most amazing thing is when you do your most honest, selfish, intimate, creative work, what is the number one thing that people say to you about it, is thank you.
Oh.
You know, thank you, like, thank you for your work. And that's the amazing paradox of living an artistic life, is that you're doing this thing for your own joy. But then when you hit that sort of vortex where you're connecting with people, all they want to do is say thank you.
So, yeah, I mean, people do want to connect. Like, I think it's and yeah, I mean, it can feel selfish because, you know, if I was writing, say, about like a made up character, which is something I want to do at some point, I think I would feel less selfish about it, because I don't know, the fact that it's about me can be a weird thing for me. I think it's something that I feel comfortable writing about, because I know that, like, I know whether I'm going to be offended or not.
You don't have to take anybody else's feelings.
Yeah. I have to, well, like I have the machinery to detect whether I'm comfortable with what I'm saying.
I've never thought of that. That's so great. That is so great. So you're essentially writing memoirs with these books, and the number one question that people always ask me when it comes to audience Q&A about memoir is like, how how much are you supposed to share? How dangerous is it to tell the truth about your family? What will people say? These are the questions that really stagger people and sometimes stop them from doing that work. The really scary questions. Will other people's lives are involved? How will they feel about it? How do you navigate that? So how do you navigate that?
It's a good question. And it's one that like, I don't know, I still don't know whether like I struck the right balance with it. It's,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to give enough information so that people would have like the story for like the things that happened, saying like, the events themselves, like naming the events themselves, but then also being, holding the information back. I wouldn't have had anything mean to say, but I don't want to like speak for people who aren't present.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, my ex-husband, Duncan, I talked to him yesterday actually, and he said that he liked the way I portrayed him, and that was so relieving because I was really scared that like he, that I was going to say something that would make him feel weird about himself or bad or something like that. So I think my tactic, I guess, would be to like less is more in that area. Like, I wouldn't, I certainly wouldn't want to say anything that doesn't come across as warm ultimately about other people, or something that I wouldn't be comfortable saying to their, like, knowing that they're reading it. Say, I wouldn't want to say anything that the person who it's about would feel was unfair, I guess. So maybe fairness is the way that I.
So I have to ask if the checkout guy, the self-checkout guy saw the book.
I don't know.
Just kidding.
It would be it.
For
I
those of
do
you who
wonder
haven't read
because
it yet,
I
it's
was the place
may
that I
I
was living. Oh
can you
yeah.
explain that particular essay in the book about the loving kindness meditation that goes off into a fugue state of fantasy about a guy you don't know?
Yeah, so there's a self-checkout attendant, and there's one grocery store in the entire town that I was living in at the time. So it would probably be possible for this guy to figure out that it's him. So he was my favorite checkout attendant. Um, and he seemed like a neat guy. Like, he seemed like he'd be interesting. And I was doing this loving kindness meditation exercise as sort of like a way to learn how to control myself or to practice being loving and kind, or more loving and kind than I am. And they asked us to pick somebody who we don't know very well to practice this on. And so I picked the checkout guy from the grocery store. I think I'd been to the grocery store that day, so he was like one of the people I'd seen the most recently. And then proceeded to accidentally botch the exercise by imagining that the only thing he enjoys is knitting, and I could not, like, the more I tried to shake that assumption, the worse it got. I did not triumph over my own mind that day. But yeah, so I felt like it was disrespectful of me to make these assumptions, and in order to make right of it, uh, I felt like I needed to like learn about who this guy really is as a person in as much as I could without making it weird for him. So it would be things like trying to like sneak a peek at his name tag, and just like if he was helping me check out, just asking him like a couple questions about like, oh, hey, how's your day going? And so I learned a few things, like he rode the bus to work, and I'm not going to say what his name is, but his name tag had one name, and then a different day it had a different name on it. So I wonder if he maybe has a twin brother, which was like fascinating to me. Where like suddenly I'm invested in this person. Like, oh my God, does he have a twin? Does he have an alter ego? Did he, like, I want to know. Because I believe, I secretly believe that like every person has fascinating things within them. Like, if you were to just see what a person is like, and like all, like how their decisions line up, or what their actual preferences are, that everybody would be endlessly fascinating. Like, every single person. and this guy, it certainly proved to be like, I hope that he reads it and maybe like wants to tell me more about himself.
That is the story of everything that you've ever written. And this summer I was with my family at the beach, and actually Mimi's father read it out loud. We did a lot of reading aloud because I had your book in galleys, and I also was carrying it around. So I've got it right here, and it was like COVID where they couldn't print fancy.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm.
And so I just wrote, and I didn't want it to get lost because it was so precious to me. So I wrote Allie Brosh on it, and I
Nice.
carried it around with me everywhere. And a friend of mine was visiting my house, and she just saw this, like, and she was like, "Holy, is that a new Allie Brosh?" Like, it was as though I had the most, amazing, like, clandestine, and I was like, "You may look at my magic marker personal version of," and this thing has been passed around to every single one of my friends.
I'm so glad to hear it.
But it was that particular essay of you beginning an innocent, like, sounded like a meditation app, guided it's like guided meditation voice, recording thing, being asked to imagine something about somebody that you didn't know. And then there's a point where I guess the meditation teacher said, now imagine that person doing the thing they love best. And it just, that's where the split happened in your mind. You were like, how am I supposed to, you told me to imagine somebody I don't know, but you're supposed to give me something. So then you start imagining him as this knitting fanatic because you'd seen a piece of like yarn on his name tag.
That's my best theory.
And
I don't actually know why.
This guy fucking loves knitting. And I think it includes a fantasy of him wearing a t-shirt that says, "I fucking love knitting." And it just goes off into this complete, like, it is one of the most amazing tangents of mind. And I remember we were all reading it and we were like, is Allie Brosh okay? Like, that was the one where we were like, it's got to be really intense living inside of that mind.
I mean, I don't have anything to compare it to. So at the very least, I don't know better.
But it was just incredible. That was the one where we were like, wow, that's an amazing mind. That must be just every day must just be such an extraordinary technicolor, amazing, bizarre, beautiful world. So yes, that is a fantastic.
It gets a little fast and loose sometimes.
Well, I was going to ask you how accurate, there's a point in Hyperbole and a Half where you tell the story of the goose coming into the house in the middle of the night and terrorizing you guys. And then at the end of it, you did this great thing where you said, in case I knew that as this was happening, that I was going to be writing about this and people might wonder if I had made it up or exaggerated it. So we took a video and then you recreate these video stills of the actual goose. And when I was reading that again this week in preparation for this, I remember thinking, it's never crossed my mind that you might be exaggerating anything. I feel like everything that you create feels so incredibly true that that was like the first time it had occurred to me that perhaps, oh, right, she's an artist. She could actually take artistic liberty with this.
I take a very modest amount of artistic liberty. Like specifically in stories where like I can't remember, like say childhood stories, if there's something, the example I always give is like with the cake story. Or if the story, I couldn't remember how I actually got into the room with the cake. I just know that I did.
Right.
And so
everybody's going in the comment section right now about that. God of cake.
And so if I have like a full story and it's missing the piece, like that, it's often an inconsequential-ish piece. Sometimes it's like, but it's, as long as it isn't something that I haven't lived in some way, like I need to have actually experienced something like a type of thing that I'm writing about in order to write about it. And so if I will never write about something that I haven't experienced. And for the like percentage wise, I would say it's like 90% like accurate. And I have experienced all of the things I'm talking about. The other stuff is just like, I was talking with my mom the other day and we realized Richard lived with his mom. I did not remember this. I just straight up didn't remember it. And so that's a detail that's left out of there. Also realized the cat was a kitten. In my memory, it
makes it easier to
cat.
understand how you were able to wrestle into a drawer.
And the other one is, so the story about facing all my fears and the drug trip, that is a cobbled together piece of 3 different incidents.
Okay.
So that was 3 different times that I went out to try to do this thing, which I don't know, whenever I try to explain this, people are like, wait, you did that 3 times? But three different times that are, so it wasn't necessarily everything happening in one go, but it made for a convenient story to say it was one thing.
Allie, I know everybody wants to see Richard and do it, but I do have one more question, which is,
Yeah.
are you in a blanket fort right now?
I am in a blanket fort. I made a blanket
Okay,
fort.
it really felt like it. Okay, cool.
And this is my mother, who is in the chat, I understand, made this quilt and this quilt.
And when did you make the blanket fort?
I made the blanket fort, so for my first event with Mark Maron, I made the blanket fort for that event.
Okay.
Because I wanted people to feel like they're in a safe space to, I feel like comfort's important right now. And I don't know, if there's anything I can do to kind of like signal that, then I don't know, I wanted to do that.
And how much time are you only doing your interviews in the blanket fort, or do you kind of curl up in there during the day? Because I now 100% want a blanket fort.
So blanket forts, like historically in our household, when we build blanket forts, they stick around for like a while.
Okay.
It's the last blanket fort we had, we didn't take down until we moved. I mean, it was modified at times to make it like, it was a pretty intense blanket fort. Like the one I'm talking about was like, it extended, there were sheets like thumbtacked into the ceiling.
And when you say we, who's the we?
My husband, Kevin, and I.
Okay.
And
did it have
so,
like tunnels and multiple rooms and
so it was this, so this is a bunk bed frame that I'm in right now. It's this is like the top bunk area, and I'm on the bottom bunk. And so we had sort of like this like enclosed situation on every side except for like the front side of it. And then there were, from the ceiling and from the top, like sheets kind of going down to like the other wall. And then the TV was in front of, because this is my living room.
Okay, great.
It might be confusing because I'm talking about a bunk bed, but I believe that you should have the furniture that you want, and I wanted a bunk bed in my living room.
I agree. I also believe very strongly in kitchen couches.
Yes.
Most of the houses that I've ever had, I've had a couch in the kitchen, but I don't have enough room in my current kitchen.
What do you use your kitchen couch for?
For people to lay on while you cook, and like
that is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant.
Because everyone wants to be in the kitchen, right? But the kitchen is like the nucleus where everyone wants to be. But kitchens are not necessarily, they don't necessarily have comfortable, So I'd rather have a kitchen couch than a kitchen table.
That is, I am 100% with you on that.
Yeah.
That is.
Plus, it's easier to turn a kitchen couch into a blanket fort.
Yeah,
because you've got the cushions.
And you can cook in your blanket fort.
Yeah. Nobody wants to sit at a table. Like if you were alone.
I don't even have a table.
Right? Like tables are this artificial thing. If you were alone in your house, which I am now all the time, I'm not going to sit at a table and eat. I'm going to sit on the couch and eat. So why would you have a table in the kitchen when you can have a couch?
I respect the hell out of that.
A vote for Liz Gilbert is a vote for kitchen couches. That is my platform for 2020. And you can trust me that there will be a couch in every kitchen in America.
Can I be your VP?
Somebody said they just voted twice. Thank you, Anna. Yes, exactly. This is what this country needs. I also want to just say that I have delighted in spending the last, however, I've lost track of time, 45 minutes or however long we've been talking. It's been so nice not to talk about politics for a few minutes. And I'm saying that not because I'm about to, but because thank you. It's just been a nice respite.
Thank you too, Liz. Like, thank you for doing this. Thank you for.
Oh, this was like the easiest yes of my year. And
well, now we can like email anytime
I know,
you want to say something.
Very, very, very glad about that. And,
Me too.
and I know I really can genuinely say that I know I speak for all of us when, to say how glad I am that you've befriended yourself and that you're taking such good care of yourself, because we really do love you and need you. And if you, I know you want to be a helper, and you really are one. And so like, yeah, just tender mercies to the little animal that you are. We all adore you. And
My animal sends its regards to your animal.
my animal loves your animal. And,
My animal loves your animal too.
and thank you so much. And for everybody out there who has not yet read Solutions and Other Problems, Allie is about to read to you the greatest the greatest piece of comedy that I believe has ever been written. Not to hype. I'm like your hype man right now. I'm not. I stand the line. I'm going to say
You're
every
good hype
third
man.
line, every third word. But it is so wonderful. And for those of you who haven't heard it yet, I'm jealous of you, because you're about to experience Richard for the first time, and it's so good. So I'm going to sign off now and leave you to your adoring population of devoted followers, among whom I proudly list myself. And just thank you so much, Allie. You're
Thank
the
you
best.
as well, Liz. And talk to you soon.
Okay, bye. Thank you,
Bye.
Powells.
All right, I have to not hit the leave button. Usually when I wave bye, it's associated with hitting the leave button. All right, so are we Chad, are we ready for Richard? I've got to get my share screen up. So share screen, and we're going to share this and share. Do not hit the leave button, hit share. Oh no, from beginning. All right, there we go. All right, and so I'm going to read Richard, and I'm not going to read the text in the illustrations, because I was traumatized by Garfield when I was a child, and I don't want to do that to you by like reading the voices of the characters. So I'm going to let you guys do that and just sit here awkwardly for the amount of time it seems like it would take somebody to read it. Hopefully that works out all right. All right, so this is Richard. As you can see, Richard. For the first few years of my life, the only people I knew how to find lived in my house. Also, if I'm in the way, you guys can move the thing. All right, so we've read the panel. We had a neighbor, Richard, but Richard was quiet and rarely outside for long, so I didn't know about him. One afternoon, though, Richard went outside. That's how I found out about him. I did not interact with Richard. I just saw him. He probably didn't even know. He stood in his driveway for a minute or two and then went back into his house. But I saw him. I think that was the main thing. It was very exciting. A person lives next to us. A person. He lives right there. And I saw him. When will he go outside again? What else does he do? Does he know about Dad? Who is his friend? Does he like whales? Is his house the same as ours? Which room does his grandma live in? These are other questions that I may have asked at the time. And then here's a picture of my face as I am thinking about all of these amazing possibilities. Desperate to catch another glimpse of him, I'd lurk near the windows all day, just staring at his house. I think I expected it to go somewhere. You can't find out there's a person living right next to you and then never get any answers. Maybe if you're 100 years old and you already know everybody, but not if you're 3. Not when it's the first stranger you know how to find. I just wanted to know more, anything. And this is as far as it would have been able to go if it wasn't for the dog door. My grandma usually supervised me while my parents were at work. She'd drink screwdrivers and do the crossword. I'd run around the house and do whatever. If she hadn't seen me in a while, she'd check to make sure I still had all my fingers, but escaping wasn't a big concern. The doors were locked. Just in case, there were jingle bells on all the handles. The dog door was the single weak point in the fortress. The revolutionary impact the dog door had on my ability to observe Richard was second only to this discovery of Richard himself. I was cautious at first. I just wanted to get a little closer, just a little. I'd sneak out through the dog door and go stare at his house from the edge of our driveway, hoping this would summon him. When it didn't, I'd sneak a little closer. Maybe it'll work if I stand in Richard's driveway. Or actually, maybe I'll just go over to this little window here and see what I can see. I started sneaking out more frequently. I started sneaking out at night. And the fact that I was sneaking seems to suggest I might have been at least partially aware that this type of behavior should be a secret. But I don't think I'd reached that crucial developmental point where you're capable of recognizing how creepy you're being. However, on the night I found the cat door in Richard's garage, even my undeveloped fish-level brain could sense that a boundary was about to be crossed. A tiny instinctual trace of doubt, the wisdom of my ancestors whispering through the ages. This might be too weird of a thing to do. Of course, one of the main features of undeveloped fish-level brains is poor impulse control. And before I could complete the thought, I was in Richard's living room. I hadn't prepared for this possibility. I dreamed of it, sure, but I wasn't expecting it to happen. So I just stood there for a little while and then retreated to regroup. A concrete objective never emerged, but the missions became bolder and more frequent. I started bringing things back with me, Richard's things. They seemed valuable somehow. Richard likes these things. Perhaps they contain the secret to Richard. A nonsensical collection of Richard's possessions slowly accumulated at the back of my toy drawer. This would prove to be my downfall. Long before that, though, my mom noticed that I'd mysteriously disappear sometimes. She wasn't worried yet because she didn't think I knew how to get out of the house. But one day she asked me where I'd been. And I said, hanging out with Richard. Hanging out was a misnomer. Richard had been hanging out by himself, and I had been standing in his hallway just out of view. But this was concerning news for my parents. They didn't even know that I knew Richard, let alone that we'd been hanging out. They went over and knocked on Richard's door and asked him about it, probably with thinly veiled suspicions regarding Richard being a child predator. And Richard, who was still somehow unaware of all the hanging out we'd been doing, told them he didn't know anything about that. I imagined things were tense for a bit. The suggestion that I'd been hanging out with Richard was disturbing for both my parents and Richard. But the clues piled up. I couldn't control myself. I took more things, bigger things. I also branched over into hiding things for Richard to find. Pretty rocks, pieces of string, letters I'd tried to write. At that age, I didn't know how to spell very many words, so the messages were fairly cryptic. The entire alphabet, followed by the word mom and a drawing of the sun, rampant scribbling, hundreds of tiny circles, and is this a spider? The spider was supposed to be Richard. I hadn't figured out how many arms and legs people are supposed to have yet, so I just put a whole bunch on there and hoped it was enough. I didn't want him to feel offended because I shortchanged him on legs. It must have come off like being haunted by a defective but well-meaning ghost. The connection should have been obvious. But when faced with a mystery like, where did my remote control go? Why is there a piece of paper with a child's handwriting on it hidden in the VCR? And how do these rocks keep getting in here? Almost no rational adult would jump to the conclusion, because a child has been sneaking in through my cat door and leaving these things for me to discover. Not even with clues. I don't know what theory Richard came up with to explain it, but it almost certainly wasn't that one. Similarly, when faced with a mystery like, why does our child keep disappearing? And why has our child been hanging out with our 40-year-old neighbor? Almost no rational adult would jump to the conclusion, because our child has become obsessed with our 40-year-old neighbor, and hanging out is a loose term to describe the activity of spying. The thing that finally blew my cover was stealing Richard's cat. Stealing it wasn't the original plan. The opportunity presented itself, I seized it. It was a strong animal. Getting it into the drawer was difficult. I didn't have a plan for what to do with it, but I knew I had something valuable. And I think the idea was that I should save it for later, for when I figured out how to capitalize on the probably unlimited potential of this. It lived in the drawer for a while. I don't know how long. Hours, probably. And now it is time for a quick fact about cats. Cats aren't good secrets because under extreme duress, they have the ability to make a sound like, and that's the sound. My parents eventually realized the sound was coming from inside the house and located the source of it. They weren't expecting to find quite so many of Richard's things. I don't know if they put the pieces together immediately or processed them individually as they came up. First of all, there's a cat in this drawer. How about that? Next up, there appear to be a considerable number of objects under the cat. This one is a shoe. This one's a piece of bread. This one is a credit card bill. Credit card bill, not a credit card. It's addressed to Richard the neighbor. Inching closer to the truth with every clue until the ultimate answer to what does hanging out with Richard mean was finally revealed. There was more than enough evidence to answer the question. And that's got to be a strange moment for a parent. There's this omnipresent fear of predators and monsters, and you never quite expect to find out the monster is your kid. They confronted me after a strategy meeting about how the fuck to handle this. That's not something the books prepare you for. There's no chapter on what to do if you suspect your child is a predator. There's no Hallmark card for sorry we accused you of being a molester. We didn't realize our kid was sneaking into your house and stealing your spoons and animals and watching you while you sleep. We're really, really sorry. That primal shame instinct I'd felt in Richard's garage flickered back online a little bit. Looking at the objects and this freaked out cat and my parents' confused faces, I realized that, yeah, maybe this had been a weird thing to do. I felt like I should explain why I had done this, but I didn't know either. So we all just stood there feeling weird about ourselves and each other. The cat was stoked to be free, though. And that's the end. So I'm going to stop screen sharing. Go back to this. Hi, Emily.
That was amazing. I think I did see on your blog that you had a small follow-up to that story.
Yes. So Richard, people were wanting to know how it went afterward. And my mom, who is in the chat, couldn't really answer, she couldn't remember what they said or anything like that. But I do remember that Richard gave me a stuffed rabbit as a peace offering. And it was my favorite toy all throughout my childhood. I posted pictures of it on Facebook, and I believe on the blog as an update.
That's so cute.
And also the cat turned out to be a kitten. I drew it as an adult cat, and it was not an adult cat. I was wrong.
Well, you were little, so I'm sure that in comparison.
Yeah. Maybe that's why. I don't know. I think he may have had another cat too. There was one named Stomper, and the one in the pictures was named Blue. So who knows?
I've got some audience questions here.
Absolutely.
So it looks like the top 2 upvoted ones here are connected, and I love that they're both about pets. That's great. So Kathleen wants to know, I would love to hear about all the animals in your life. I heard that you have a new cat named Squirrel. Can you tell us anything about Squirrel or any other animals in your life? And Kathy said, how are the dogs? So I'm going to ask you both of those at once.
So the dogs are, I actually just talked to my ex-husband who has both of the dogs now. And he says that they're great. They're getting old. He sent some pictures of them. And it is so adorable. Like the simple dog is getting like gray on her like face, and just looking like the quintessential like sweet old dog. And the helper dog is also doing well. She's a little bit older. I think she's 13 now, 14, something like that. And yeah, she's calming down a little bit, being a good girl. And so the only animal I currently have in my life is my cat Squirrel, who I can bring on screen if everybody would like to see that.
Absolutely.
Hey Kevin, can we get a Squirrel? I have my husband is on cat duty to bring him over, just because I knew everybody would want to see Squirrel. So hopefully it's light enough in my blanket for it to see. He's asleep he lives on Kevin, just like on him all the time. Here, bud. Here, buddy. Oh boy, yeah. Here's my man. And this is Squirrel.
How calm.
His name is Squirrel, because he reminded me of a squirrel. I think it's something about the color on his belly. We later learned that Kevin's cousin Spencer has a cat named Squirrel as well, who he had talked to us about. So maybe that got in my head somewhere. I wanted everybody to know that there is another squirrel. Possibly he's the first squirrel. He's like Squirrel Prime, and this is Squirrel derivative Squirrel.
Thank you so much for bringing him on screen. That's amazing.
He loves it. What you doing, bud? Are you gonna stick around? He might come back over and lay on me in a second.
So the next question I've got for you is from Paul, and he says, up 10 years later, I still regularly say blank all the things. Do you do this too, or does it feel too self-referential?
So for me to do it, it feels too referential. I like when other people do it, like, if I'm watching, say, like a streamer doing something and they say something like that, it's kind of a neat little like, oh, hey, they like know about something that I did, even if they don't know about me. It's kind of a cool, like, everything's connected kind of moment.
Let's see, Kristen wants to know what's bringing you hope these days.
People on the internet a lot, just reading internet comments. I think that people like to talk about how, like, I don't know, all the negative things, but there are a lot of positive things out there if you're like looking for them. Just people deep in the comment section, like where nobody is going to see it, being super helpful, offering to like whatever support they can to somebody, and these things spiral off into like suddenly they're having conversations about their fathers, and that type of thing I think is like the most hopeful to me. It feels like people are good and they want good for each other, and sometimes we don't know how to express it, but like it's always really comforting to me to, like, when I'm feeling hopeless, to watch other people, like to go grocery shopping or go just even like sit in a public bathroom or something and overhear conversations that people are having, go for a walk, something like that, to just see other people and notice like how good they're being to each other, if that makes sense. That's the
Seeing that positivity out there in the world. Let's see. Sarah says, "Hi, Allie. Thank you so much for Hyperbole and a Half. Sharing your stories on depression with my family and friends has totally changed how they understand what I go through. I've seen everyone from Bill Gates to psychiatrists applaud your work. How does it feel to know that you've made an impact on so many people who also struggle from depression?"
it feels honestly incredible. I mean, it's like I know that it's a difficult, lonely struggle, and like anytime somebody says that I've helped them, like I feel really good. I want to help, and I'm glad to see that if it is helpful, that it is. It brings me comfort as well, you know, knowing that when people just reach out and say like, hey, you know, your work helped me, here's my experience, like those are treasured emails and comments and things that I have like a whole folder full of screenshots I've taken of these things, or even like handwritten letters from my like first book tour that I look at in times of need. I guess that's another thing that's like hopeful too. Like all the little mementos of like that connection, you know, when somebody understands you, or you understand them, or you have an area of commonality, that like that feeling of like I've been describing it as like reaching out and touching something in the void. I I start like tearing up every time I say it. Maybe I shouldn't describe it like that. um, but yeah, it's a good experience. It's helpful for me too.
Thank you so much for that answer.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. Heather says, "Got any tips for getting off the couch these days? I revisit your story about the video store returns often."
So I haven't been doing a great job getting off the couch myself lately either. I'm not as active as I used to be, and that's something that I want to move more in the direction of. I've mostly been getting my energy out like mentally, you know, like working and playing games like strategy games, like Hearthstone and Magic. Um, but yeah, it's whenever I'm trying to get myself to do something, and I don't know if this like works for anybody else, but often the best tactic that I can take with myself is to sit down and like logically consider the benefits that I would have from doing this thing. And so instead of like trying to be like, you know, just do it, you know, whatever, like screw what you want, do this. I'd actually sit down and try to have a conversation with myself about how I could benefit from this in a logical way, and progress through like the fears I have about it, you know, like, oh, well, am I going to have to do this every day? Like, what if I decide I don't want to? And a lot of times it's like, well, if you decide you don't want to, you can stop. Like, it's not like, just try it maybe, like, but that's how I talk to myself, I guess, in those times.
Anne says, "Your pain scale is maybe my favorite as a pain warrior. How did you come up with it?"
So it was as the story that surrounds it suggests, it was when my ex-husband, who was then my boyfriend, got sick, and we had to go to the emergency room in the middle of the night. And as he was laying there in the hospital, the pain chart was like up on the wall, and we were looking at it because we were there for a while. And I just remember thinking like, man, that doesn't really like seem. I've never made that kind of face when I'm feeling that thing. Like, that's not the, you know, I don't sit there and kind of go, if I'm feeling a little bit in pain. And so, yeah, it just came about as like a way of talking about that. And then I got the idea, because I had taken a picture of the pain chart on the wall at the hospital. Then I just got the idea, well, maybe I can write a new one. And then somebody suggested that I do a full 10 face one instead of just the 5. I think that's how the progression went.
See, Meredith wants to know what you've read and loved lately. What shows have you found binge-worthy for the 2020 Homebound?
All right. Oh my goodness. So the most recent book I've read, and I said this in my first talk as well, or somewhere else. It's a book by a Swedish artist and author named, and I do not know how to pronounce this, Simon Stalenhag. Um, he does these like post-apocalyptic paintings that are just absolutely beautiful, and writes a story that like furthers the narrative. And so it's a very different kind of graphic novel, I feel like. And I'm very inspired by his artistic ability. I will like spend hours just analyzing every little detail of the like brush strokes to figure out like, how does he do that? So that's the most recent book I've read. A book that had a big impact on me was Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I read that a few years ago. And I can't recommend enough. I think Hunter S. Thompson has a very fluid style of communicating that I learned quite a bit from. So I would, oh, hey, so I just saw somebody posted Simon Stalenhag's name in the chat. So if you want to know how to spell it, it's down there. As far as shows, another one I've been kind of shouting out is What We Do in the Shadows. And Future Man, it's a show on, Kevin, do you remember the network? It's on, so that one's on Hulu, and then Hulu makes it, and then What We Do in the Shadows is also Hulu? That's Amazon? Okay. But yeah, so What We Do in the Shadows and Future Man. What else have we been watching? You know, but so those two, they're very, very funny.
Let's see, Kate wants to know, do you still have the piece of corn?
I do not have the piece of corn. I do not. If you really must know a secret about the piece of corn, it wasn't under my refrigerator. That was one of those like awkward to explain situations where, so the real story, there was a picture posted on Reddit, and I think it might have been under the What the Fuck subreddit. And it was a picture of, I think it was from a porn set. And there's a guy fucking a girl in doggy style, and he is chugging a can of corn. And the piece of corn is off to the side of the guy on the floor. And it is actually a piece of corn. I actually had a laughing fit that I could not control. All the other parts of the story are true. That part, I just didn't know how to explain the like complicated, this was, so first of all, you have to know about Reddit, you have to know about why I'm looking at this pornographic picture that has so somebody actually found the comment. I left the comment under my account, and somebody found it. And I just want to let that person know that their theory is correct. If they ever see this.
I see your mom's asking in the chat if you still have the corn necklace.
Oh shit, she did send me a corn necklace. I have a Mom, probably somewhere. Oh, my mother, she is so wonderful. I hope everybody in the chat is having an amazing time with my mother. She is truly a special human being.
I think that makes your story so much better. That is amazing, and I loved that story to begin with.
It would have been so long if I tried to explain it the way it happened. It would have been like twice as long, just the part explaining the actual circumstances.
Let's see, Gregory wants to know, how has your drawing method changed and what does it look like now? Just a mouse and MS Paint, or do you have other tools?
So I have, let me see, I think I have my tools here. Here's my drawing tablet. Get some light on this bad boy here. And I've got a pen. I have a rubber band around the pen because my fingers like slide off of it too much. And so I draw on that. Let me see if I can, I have some like art, some like real art that I've been trying to do that I could, I don't know if we're talking about just like cartooning, or could we clarify?
Do whatever.
All right, so I may need to, how do I do this? Tell me if I'm freezing, because I'm gonna try to find a picture and then screen share.
Okay.
Let me actually go to here. Oops. Okay, give me just a moment. I'm gonna go to navigate to my secret test blog, which is where I write and compose my books now. Hey Gavin, do you mind if I show some of the pictures of the, do you want me, like a couple pictures from the story, from the Left Dragon story? Okay. Okay. And this one, oops, what am I doing here? Okay, so I think I can share my screen. Let me just get to like a part that isn't experimental and strange. Okay, get back to Zoom and do share screen and do this and share. So this is a, I don't know if you can see it. It might be dark. I should turn off the, there we go. There, now we can see colors better. So this is a story that I'm illustrating for my husband's projects. He does sci-fi and fantasy writing. And so I'm doing some illustrations there.
Wow, these are beautiful.
Thank you. These are just a peek at that. And then over on this one here are just some like drawings that I've been practicing doing with like, and I do these all in paintbrush as well. It's like my medium of choice. But yeah, this is my collection of just stuff I've been working on. Here's I like the way this one turned out. This was one, this is my sitting spot in my old place in Colorado.
That looks almost like a photograph. Did such a great job with those.
Thank you. Those are my old roommate Drew's plants. He has a very green thumb. So does that answer the artistic question? I feel like there's a part that, how has it evolved? Did I get the whole question? I don't know. Did I?
And then they were asking about tools, which I think you showed us your.
Yeah, so I use the drawing tablet, and then the program I use it's essentially MS Paint, but for a Mac computer. And it's called Paintbrush, and it's a like open source software just designed by, I recently learned, just by one person whose handle is Soggy Waffles. So thank you to, if anybody knows who Soggy Waffles is, I would like to say thank you. I probably use the program more than anybody else in the entire universe. I feel confident about that.
See, we've got, this is a nice comment from Katie, who wanted to tell you that she uses a lot every year with her students to teach how to spell a lot. It's one of the best things. Thank you for giving us the a lot.
That makes me happy. Thank you for teaching. Teachers are so important.
Let's see. I think this one you answered earlier talking to Liz. Let's go to Caitlin says, your story, this is another one about your story of depression in Hyperbole and a Half. She says, it's the first realistic and recognizable depiction I ever stumbled upon, and those panels are what still enters into my brain when having to explain my depression and anxiety to others, even all these years later. First of all, I wanted to thank you for making me feel like randomly crying in a video store is something that's not necessarily a unicorn situation. Second, I wanted to ask you how you have continued to deal with those anxieties, and if you have learned a way to live with them, or if there are practices and resources that you have found helpful in managing all the super exciting complexities that come with being an anxious, depressive person. And I think you talked about this with Liz earlier, but I don't know if
yeah, it's something that there's obviously, like, we as humanity don't have that stuff figured out yet. And so it's always, I feel like, worthwhile talking about it, because we're just like comparing notes, right? You know, saying like, this is how I deal with it, and then I can hear how other people deal with it, and maybe together we can like establish a pattern and come up with some like coping strategies or something like that. So a big thing for me has been the like being my own friend part. Just having the security of like knowing that I have my own approval. I think that a lot of times when I'm feeling anxious about it's a lot of social anxiety. Like I feel more I used to feel like health anxiety, scared type of anxiety, and sometimes I feel that now as well, but these days it's more of the social variety, and reminding myself that I have my own approval, and regardless of what anybody thinks of me, I'm doing my best, and I know how hard I'm trying, and I need to like recognize that. I think like that that what I'm really kind of wondering when I'm feeling anxious a lot of times is like, you know, am I doing okay? Am I doing a good job? Is like everybody liking me? Is, you know, am I weird? And just having, you know, sometimes I'll even like grab my own arm when I'm feeling really, really anxious, and just, you know, give it a squeeze and say, it's okay. You know, you're trying hard, you're doing the best you can. You can't do better than this. Like if you could, you don't know how. And so like I guess just reminding myself to accept how I am, accept how I come across. Like I know that sometimes I can be awkward. I think I've also been trying to learn how to like accept other people's reactions to that, and trust them to see me kindly and fairly. And yeah, just like kind of having my own support has been an important thing for me.
Thank you. Let's see. I've got.
I feel like I need to the lighting situation is always. Hey Kevin, would you be able to turn on the light there?
All right. From Jessica, I've got. See, she has. They have a couple of statements here. So happy you're back. Um,
Hey, there we go. It's got
and
some light.
then a statement question combo. I loved the Richard chapter, and also the update and real photos in response to readers' questions about the aftermath of the story. Do you expect to still utilize your blog spot as a way to interact with fans?
So that's what I've been using it for. Typically, is a sort of like my area of the internet, where like if I want to communicate directly with my readers, I can do that. I'm not planning on starting up the blog full time again or anything like that. Just for me and the way that I am, writing books has turned out to be a far more humane lifestyle than blog posts. I feel like I have better expectations for like I can stay out of my own head more about the material, and like I can be more honest when I'm writing a book, as opposed to like a blog post where I'm worried about this thing standing on its own all by itself, not with the rest of the context around it. So I won't be returning to blogging full time, but I do plan on occasionally, you know, like for example, if I write a book, having a dialogue there, making it sort of a place where we can convene when convening is necessary. I do have an Instagram now that I post more. I feel like the bar is lower for me for Instagram. Like I can just say whatever on there, and so that could realistically be something that I do more frequently. But it's Allie_Brosh. There's somebody who already had Allie Brosh, and it's not me.
I imagine someone will find it and post it in the chat. Another one from Jessica. This is a two-part question statement combo. Do you have any plans to expand your store, perhaps adding a stuffed a lot? I would totally buy one.
So yeah, I'm never sure how I feel about merchandising. I honestly didn't know my store was still like running. I assumed it wasn't. It's something I would potentially look into. I think there may be somebody making them on Etsy, and that's you know, that's not affiliated with me, but like if you want a stuffed a lot, I think that there are people out there who are making them. Yeah, I'm a bit hesitant about merchandising. I will say that. It makes me feel weird internally.
Be so cute though.
That's why, is, you know, there's people who make them. I just don't want to benefit. Like I'm fine with it. I just don't want to benefit from the merchandising. That's where I feel weird about.
And I think one more from Jessica here. Have you ever done, or would you ever consider doing commission drawings? For example, capturing the essence of someone's family pets from a photo or description.
So it's something that I would consider doing. I don't, it would be a thing where like, I, I would expect that there would be a high volume of requests for those things, and the price point would probably need to be somewhat high to like how am I going to pick? Is it like a drawing? Maybe I could do a like drawing from a hat type lottery situation if we're trying to make it fair. So it's something that I would consider doing. I don't know if I would want that to be like, if I take on too many jobs, I don't do my main job. You know, like my working like on books job. And so I would be worried that it would be a. But I would consider it. That there's a lukewarm interest in the idea. That's my honest answer.
Let's see. Anna asks, do you do images or text first?
I do text first. I finish all the text first because, so the images, like when I'm writing it, I do like artistic descriptions. And I could actually show some of those if people want to see what the like art, let me find it real quick here. Let me find this one. And okay, I've got it open. Now I'm just finding. Okay. So I will screen share again. And this is the like drawing descriptions for Bucket for the first chapter, and it may be different. I edited it after. So what I do is I finish all the text and I put in the art descriptions, and then I move it into my secret blog and compose things there, and I actually start adding art as I'm finishing it. And yeah, so there's sometimes like the drawings are more like, or the descriptions are a little bit more like intense, but I do finish the text first and then go in and put the drawings in.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course, it's fun sharing that.
Here's one from Gregory. Hi, Allie. I'm a new parent to a daughter. Do you have a piece of advice that would have helped your parents make your young life better?
Ooh, man, that's a loaded question with my mom in the chat. I think my parents did a pretty good job. I like the way that they parented me. I can't speak to the product, but I felt like their parenting style was both humane and considerate. And they were open to maybe more. Could I say a thing that did make my life easier that my mom did do? So I think one of the best things that my mom did for me as a girl growing up was being open to communicating with me. And so, you know, she would say things like, if you're ever in trouble, just like let us know. We won't judge you. Just be honest with us and be open with us. Just keep us in the loop. And she really like lived up to that. Really prioritized honesty as a value. Like if you are honest with us, you don't like, nobody's going to get you in trouble. We might have our own feelings about it, but like just come to us if you're struggling, or if if you want to try drugs, we'll find you drugs. You will do drugs in the comfort of your own home. And I think that it genuinely helped me have a responsible relationship with drugs as an adult. I didn't do drugs until I was 27, I think 26, the first time I ever even weed. That was the first time I ever tried it. And like, I like it. I can use it responsibly, but I didn't feel like I need to like rebel or anything like that. Yeah, just being honest and communicating and like talking, staying close to each other.
Let's see. Erica says, do you have a favorite drawing you've done published in the book blog? I'm always amazed at how much you can convey using such primitive software. My personal favorite is Not Today, I Have Legs, Motherfucker.
I like that one too.
And I have gone back to it on bad days at work.
Oh
Also,
man, I don't know what I'm favorite. Okay, no, I know what it is. I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. That one. I think when I drew it, and the reason I like it is that it perfectly captures the way that I feel when I'm feeling awkward. I think that is actually what I feel, and it's very rare that I feel like, oh, I did it. I like captured the thing I'm trying to do, and that one did feel like that.
Let's see. Kalis, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, wants to know, does Donna come to all your Zoom events? I feel very blessed that she's here with us.
So this is the first Zoom event that she was able to get into. I tried to get her into the one 2 days ago. And I'm very glad she got in. I think that she didn't want to like bug me or something while I'm doing my event. And so she just didn't like ask about it. But this is her first Zoom event. We do Zoom calls, or we do FaceTime, Mom. Are we bringing up my mom? We should, Mom, I don't know. I could ask her if she would.
I can let her if you want me to.
If she wants to. I also want to like, don't pressure her if she doesn't want to be on. Okay, here she comes. Are you cool with this, Mom?
Sure, I'm a mess.
Well, so am I. It's been a while since I've showered.
I was going to call you today and tell you I haven't had a shower in a week either.
If you want to be on video, I think you've got to start your video, Mom.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay, so see down in the corner, or the left-hand corner, lower left-hand corner, it says mute and start video or stop video.
There's nothing in the lower left-hand corner.
Troubleshooting. This is fun. This is like live troubleshooting with my mother.
Should be
Okay, so Emily, do you have any idea? Does she
There's
need to
probably a little camera button with a red line through it, Donna, if you can see that.
There she is. There's my mother. Hello, Mom.
Oh,
you're on. It totally works. Hi, Mom.
This is so much fun. I'm really having a good time with this.
Good. I see periodically. I see your comments popping up.
Well, I just have to comment every now and then.
I love that you're commenting. It brings me great joy that you're participating in chat, because you are.
And I'm figuring out. Look at me being technological.
You're getting it. Do you remember when the only way you knew how to get in contact with me was blog comments? You would remind me to go to the dentist in blog comments. There was a point. This was like a decade ago at this point.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because you were kind of closed off to. You were being silent. You were going dark.
Well, and I'd written something about orange juice, and you were concerned about the effect the orange juice that I was talking about was going to have on my teeth. And so you were like, just so you know, and it's adorable. I took a screenshot of it. It's like, kids love when their moms do stuff like that.
They do?
Oh yes. Because you're caring, and you're like, it's obvious how much the like it took a lot of effort to do that because you didn't know how to like leave a comment or how to like contact me.
Hey, when it comes to contacting you, I'll figure it out. And you also called me the vegetable Nazi, and I have to say, both of my kids like vegetables when they grew up. So
you do like
be a vegetable Nazi, moms.
And it is okay to mother your children.
Yes.
Anywho, we gonna do our kiss.
Okay,
I like embarrassing everybody with you, Mom.
Okay, you're embarrassing.
But we're making other people like this is good. I like this. I think it's a good experience.
Like having an adult daughter, and I really would take a bullet for you, Allie.
I know that you would, and I would take a bullet for you too, Mom.
So, did you ever mention?
Mom, I love you so much.
What?
I love you so much.
I love you too.
What's
so
your question?
Did you ever tell everybody that your book really was done several years ago, but you didn't like it?
Yeah, I told.
Oh.
I've told. I mean, I don't know about like I've been telling people when they ask me about it.
It was worth waiting for. And by the way, when am I going to get my copy?
You're going to get an entire box of books.
Awesome.
I'm going to be mailing out. I have to do a lot of like mailing type things this week, and that'll be a perfect time to also mail you.
Well, you know, I'm your greatest cheerleader and fan.
I have, when I was driving your car with she has bumper stickers that she promotes me on her car.
Yes, I do.
It has like my website URL, and she will march into stores where was it, in Ireland, or where were you?
Oh, I go in bookstores everywhere. Anywhere I am traveling, I will go in a bookstore and ask if they have your book. And if they don't, I chastise them for that. and tell them how to get it. And then if I do find it, I take pictures of it. So I have a whole collection of pictures from bookstores. So yes, I did. Awesome. Your book was in a bookstore in Scotland.
That is awesome.
Ireland.
Mom, do you want to stay? Emily, is it cool if she wants to? Would you want to stay on and help answer questions with me?
Sure.
Okay, we can talk to make this alive. Like, I figure, like, bring more into the party. This is my mother. She doesn't normally get to be in, like.
And I haven't had a shower in a week.
It's been at least that long for me too. So you're in good company.
Do you want me to ask you some questions?
We can, yeah, and let's take questions for me and my mom. My mom could probably give you more honest answers than I can on some questions.
All right, let's see. Sonora says, thank you so much for your stories and art. It's gotten me through a lot. What made you want to start blogging in 2009?
I was procrastinating on studying for a physics final. It was something that I had, like, I'd kind of been playing around with Facebook and posting like picture albums with like funny captions on them, and I wanted to do basically anything that wasn't studying at the moment. I did end up, doing well in the class and on the final, but that was the honest reason that I started it. Mom, do you have any insight?
Well, I wasn't there for that.
Well, you weren't. This was when I was living in Montana at the time. That's where I went to school, at the University of Montana.
I do have a story. I don't know if you you maybe never heard this.
Is it the one where you thought I was going to be a hobo?
No,
right. That's not nice to say anymore. A vagrant.
But it was, after you graduated, you and Duncan graduated, you both had that internship to that lab in Hamilton, Montana. And I thought to myself, oh, thank God she's got a job, a way to support herself. But how's that going to work? Because I knew you did not like getting up early in the morning and punching a time clock and, being told what to do. So I wondered how that was going to work, but I was grateful you had the job. So a couple weeks after you were supposed to have this job. I called you to see how things were going. I don't know if you remember this.
I think this is the conversation I'm kind of thinking of. Like, you were worried that I was gonna be homeless, and
pretty much. And so I remember saying, hey, how's the job going? And I remember you said, I didn't take it. And I remember my head went down and thunk on the table. It's like, oh God. Then all the you know, I just was thinking of all, you know, what is she ever going to do? And so I very calmly did ask you, okay, what are you going to do? And you said, I think I'm going to write a blog. And I said, what's a blog? I had no idea. No clue.
I don't know if I was even was I really like thinking that I was going to do that as my job then?
Well, yeah, but we had the whole conversation. I asked.
Oh man, I was like BSing, if that's what I said.
But I didn't even know what it was, and then you described it, and you said, you know, I can make money doing that. And I said, how do you make money writing about stuff in a blog?
I didn't know either.
If it gets popular, then you get advertisers, and you knew of people, and you rattled some off, who were making money on their blogs. And I said, I said to myself, God help her. And
God, do you remember what time of year this was? Would this have been like in February?
It was shortly after you moved to Montana, to Hamilton.
Okay. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't remember.
And it was a long time before you started making any money on it. Remember, I used to come and bring you checks for money for food.
Well, and I like was too scared to put up ads. I think I did for like a day or two, and then I took them down. But I might have gotten my AdSense account banned for some reason. I don't know.
I have to apologize for doubting that you could make money on a blog.
Thank you. My mother has has publicly apologized for doubting me. She doesn't doubt, like, you don't doubt me, Mom, if there's any.
No, I don't doubt you, but I doubted that a blog.
You believe in me more than any person. You believe in me more than I believe in me.
Well, I'm so proud of you, honey, for figuring out a way to make it in the world in your own way, and in a way that touches people. And I mean, I can't be more proud that you have touched people in ways that not very many people get a chance to do. And
I feel very fortunate for.
That's a good, real positive karma. And anyway, and I'm also grateful that, and thank you, Simon & Schuster, for giving my daughter money so she can buy a house near me.
I'm looking at moving closer to my mom so we can hang out more often.
And I'm all for that.
I am too, Mom.
Anyway, more questions.
Let's take questions.
Let's see. Joey says, you said you weren't sure what you were trying to say with your book in 2015. How would you describe what you ended up wanting to say with the current version of it?
That is a great question. So I think that the overall tone I was going for is like optimism through like a more realistic lens or a more pessimistic lens, because I think that was something that when I was looking for hope and optimism out in the world, it didn't seem like there was a lot of. Like, it seemed, you know, if I was looking up how do I feel less depressed, it seemed like an overwhelming majority of the material I was encountering was stuff that didn't really like feel true. It was like a type of optimism that was more like, you know, everything gets better, it's fine, it's going to be totally fine. And that just felt like kind of ignoring the issues. And so maybe in an overall sense, I think that I was going for something like that. Maybe a different way to describe it would be a thing I do with my cat to make him to help him be like more adjusted to the world. Is I pick him up and do weird stuff. Like I'll pick him up and spin him around or carry him to, you know, like with my arms extended, just kind of do some weird things to him and then set him down and pet him and make him feel okay. And so I was hoping to create a bit of weirdness and then make it okay, in tonally. I think other themes would have been like power, helplessness, ethics in a way. That's something I spend a lot of time thinking about, and I don't know how much I dealt with it directly, but in chapters like the one about knitting guy, I feel like that's sort of like me trying to speak about my own personal code of ethics a bit. Does that answer the question? Can you hear from?
Yeah, I think so. That's great. I'm not seeing, let's see if he says that answered his question.
Oh yeah, I see right there. Yes, a smiley face. Thank you.
I just saw a question for Donna in the chat, so I'm going to drop that
Oh
one.
yeah.
Susanna says, from the first book, how did you feel when Allie wrote about getting lost in the forest?
She loves this story.
Well, it is a true story, although I have to say I did not make them collect pine cones.
That was
But
you came up with something. I couldn't remember the thing that you came up with to distract us. It
I
wasn't
was
actual backgrounds.
freaking terrified. Here I had, and she didn't write that in the book, but we had another child with us, one of their friends who I was entrusted to take care of. Remember Stephanie?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I didn't remember that
Yeah.
Stephanie was there.
Oh, yes.
In the
Stephanie,
story. Yeah.
and then we just went for a little lantern walk in the woods. It was Martinmas time, and we were just
You may
doing.
have to explain what Martinmas is.
Oh, well, in the Waldorf school, you make lanterns. It's a holding the light in the darkness kind of thing. The girls went to Waldorf school, and so I just thought it would be fun since we had a friend over, and it was about 3:45 in the afternoon, and this is up in Idaho, so it gets dark
Man,
early.
my memory is morning crazy. This is awesome.
Yeah, and so it was November 11th, as I recall.
And
And
you
so
remember the date?
I do. We went for a little walk in the woods. We lived on 25 acres of North Idaho forest, and it was beautiful. And you have to understand, I have a terrible sense of direction. I don't
This is really true.
Thank God for Siri and navigation, because I spend most of my life spiraling in. But anyway, so we went for a short walk, and I thought I knew where we were and how to get back, and pretty soon everything got turned around, and it was cloudy, so I couldn't see where the sun was. And anyway, long story short, it was getting dark, and I could not find the way home. And I was terrified. Going through my head was, wolves and coyotes and moose and all these things that were going to attack these children. And anyway, I did see a light in the forest, and I just went for it, just thinking if I could get out in the open, I could figure out where the heck we were. And when we got there, we were in the middle of a cow field, and in the distance, I could see a little farmhouse. And I think
we went for it.
I think I told the girls, I said, hey, let's go visit our neighbors. I'm all the time, I'm terrified, and I'm all the time trying to not terrify them. I remember one time
keep morale up.
Oh, I remember one time Stephanie looked at me and she said, are we lost?
No, child.
No, we're not lost. We're just going for a longer walk than I thought. And I said, tell you what, I'll race you to the farmhouse. And we just booked it to the farmhouse. By the time we got there, it was completely and totally dark. And our neighbors, they lived, maybe half a mile down the road. Floyd and Leona, remember them?
Oh yeah, Floyd plowed our driveways.
Yeah, he plowed our driveway, the older couple. And I knocked on their back door. Here's this woman out of nowhere knocking on their back door with 3 little kids in tow. And I just asked her, could you tell me how to get back to Dufert Road? And she said, it's at the end of our driveway. And I said, thank you very much. And so then we walked home and collected trash on the way. So, it looked like it was.
I forgot about that.
We kind of collected garbage along the way just so it felt like it was on purpose.
Maybe that's what I'm remembering as the pine cones. I know that there was something that we were like doing, collecting.
Oh, it could have been. I was so freaked out.
I said pine cones because that was an assumption of like what it could have been in the forest, but maybe it was trash.
And I don't know did I ever tell you this part? I was playing harp. I play the harp, and I was playing harp for this event at the Grange Hall. You know, we had a Grange right in our neighborhood, and somebody in the neighborhood found out I played harp and asked if I would come and play for it. It was somebody's like 90th birthday or something like that. So all these old timers, including our neighbors, Floyd and Leona, were there, and somehow someone found out that I was the crazy lady that got lost and knocked on their back door, and they were literally laughing at me. I was
Oh, Mom.
I was kind of embarrassed.
Did you really? You felt
that was me. Anyway, so yeah, I have terrible.
Well, now we have good stories. Your sense of direction has given me good stories to tell people.
I love your stories, and the hot sauce one, that was exactly right on too. I mean, what people don't understand is that most of those stories, strange though they are absolutely true. Can I say hi to Lucy? Say hi, Lucy.
Hi, Lucy. Lucy is my dog sister.
Yes. She's wanting to be fed.
Ready for a new question?
I'm ready, Mom. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Are you still doing okay? Are you liking this? Is this fun?
This is awesome.
Okay.
It's certainly a first.
I mean, that was my read on the situation. It seemed like you're having fun with it, but.
And if you both need to go, I know we've gone way over what we were planning. So
yeah, and you too. Like if any,
and I'll end it.
I'm fine going for a little bit longer.
Okay.
Mom, let us know if you ever want to like if you ever aren't having fun with it.
If I have to pee, I'll just take you with me.
There'll be like 473 people watching my mother pee.
Well, I'll mute.
Okay.
Let's see. Luke says, if you could send a message into space for aliens to find someday in the far future, what would it be?
Oh goodness, for aliens. So it would be hard. So I think I would try to like take a strategic approach to it. Like think like what would be the most likely thing the aliens would be able to understand, and then try to figure out like first of all, how could I write something intelligible to them? How could I, and then within whatever format that turns out to be, I think I would want to ask them a question, not even say something, but just say like something like, how are you? Or what's it like out there in your world? Both because I would want to know, and it would increase the likelihood that they write back.
I love that. Donna, do you have an answer?
I think if I would rather ask questions too than say anything. I would ask, how do you communicate with one another, and how do you display love? You know, what does love look like on your planet?
And that's a good question, because it communicates peace, like inside the question, like by asking it that way, it's sort of like a gesture of peace.
And what form of government do you use, and does it work?
Here's one from Robin. I have a new puppy, and I think she might be a simple dog. Any tips on surviving her chaos?
Any thoughts to surviving the chaos?
Yeah, any tips? Yeah.
So I think my mom could probably answer this question better than I can, as far as what it took to raise me, because in some ways I have a learning disability. I was a very strange child, and I think that she has a lot more experience with that kind of thing than I do. I will allow her to answer if you feel okay about that, Mom. Can you?
So is this about the simple dog?
I think it's more about like parenting a difficult creature. That's how I would take it. Like, I think it would probably be equally applicable. Like the things I'm thinking of saying are stuff like accept your creature as the creature that it is.
Absolutely.
That kind of stuff like acceptance. I don't know, that would be my instinct, but I think that you have more experience with that.
Well, like I said earlier, accept even the unacceptable and you will be free, is one of my favorite sayings. And it, has certainly helped me in a number of occasions in my life that I found unacceptable. Well, like Katie's death.
Yeah.
But
You are
the bottom line is just love them. Just love them, embrace them as they are, and learn to laugh. It's really, really quite simple. You can read all the books you want, but the bottom line,
my mother.
at the end,
I'm proud of you, Mom. I like showing you off.
At the end of the day, just love them. And even the simple dog, Kelly was my favorite. I loved that dog.
Oh, did you know Duncan has her?
I was going to ask you about that. He's got
He
Kelly too.
With the simple dog, when we split up, we a friend of ours who had been our pet sitter had recently lost her dog, who was old, and we, in deciding how to proceed with the divorce, the simple dog went to live with our friend Chrissy for a while, and now Duncan has both the dogs again, and so they're.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. He was sending me pictures yesterday as Kelly's getting salt and pepper.
Would you forward those to me?
I can. I have to ask. Yeah, I need to. They're on his Instagram, and he was. I don't know if he sent them to my phone or if he just showed me his Instagram.
Oh.
But yeah, I can get you pictures of Kelly. I can because they were very good to see. Oh yeah, everybody. Her name's Kelly. The helper dog is named Naya, too. That was the name she had at the shelter, and we kept it to avoid confusing her.
See, Joy says, I just wish to give a shout out to the Spaghetti Noddle. One of my favorite characters in the world. Did he burn fast and bright, or might he reappear someday?
So the spirit of Spaghetti Noddle shows up so on Instagram I've been doing this thing with a cashew with a face drawn on it, and that is very much like the spirit of Spaghetti Noddle in the cashew. I don't know, there will likely be a day where Spaghetti Noddle comes back for some amount of time. I truly, the people who are really into Spaghetti Noddle, I think those people really get me on a deep level, like whatever it was that made me want to do that when I was drunk, probably also appeals to those people. And so at some point, when you least expect it, how about that? When it seems the least possible for Spaghetti Noddle to come back, that's when Spaghetti Noddle will come back.
All right. Melanie says, are you still in Oregon? If so, how badly are the fires affecting you?
So I am still in Oregon. I'm in Bend, and the fires aren't bad now. They were really bad a week and a half ago. The air quality index was horrible. I think it was like 524 or 528, something like that, for a few days. So it felt a bit scary. It felt like, not being able to breathe, and just seeing headlines. Like, I took a screenshot of one. Let me see if I can find it. Something like,
it was bad in Grants Pass too. We were sort of central, smoke central here.
I can't find the screenshot. But something like that, the smoke, the levels of smoke in Oregon, is particularly Eugene, were like higher than anybody had ever met. Like the chart only goes to 500, and we were seeing numbers in like Eugene had like 700, 800. I'm sure Portland had, was bad too. What was the highest it got in Portland?
I think it got into the 500s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was it scary there as well? Like, you feel you can't.
It was so hard to breathe, right?
Yeah, you could actually feel it.
Yeah.
That falling asleep was hard because it was like you wake up thinking your house is on fire because it smells like smoke and you have smoke in your lungs, and
everything still smells a little like smoke.
Oh, yeah. I guess so. Oh, that's crazy.
Let's see. Lauren says, have you considered making posters? I want to put one up in my office for students to see when the pandemic is over.
So we did some posters for these events, for people who sign up for the events. If you were in the first, what, 500?
500, yeah, we have 500 prints.
You will be getting a poster. And yeah, so I did a calendar for Hyperbole and a Half with Abrams, and I did some other like paper product, like journals and stuff. So I'd if interest exists, I would potentially do posters or something like that. No current plans to, like, it's not, I don't have it in my to-do list, but I could float it with my publisher and see what we can do about it.
Well, don't forget the rainbow one. That's still out there, isn't it?
Yeah, that was from I think that was from my last book tour we did.
I have one of those from when you came to Powell.
Oh yeah. My mom has one on her refrigerator.
Yes, I do.
Let's see. Callie asks, how do you know when your specific books are done?
That is also a good question. So I guess, like, the only thing I would have it to compare it to is like how I knew it wasn't done when I was planning on publishing it in 2015. So there's often a very specific feeling I'm going for with like there's an emotion I'm trying to produce within myself. And if I hit that feeling, I know, like, okay, that this is a thing that, like, I feel good about saying or feel confident in saying. Like, I feel like it feels like expressing myself accurately. Have you ever been talking to somebody and, like, found the thing that you wanted to say and said it in a way that, like, you knew that they would understand, and you feel like actually explains it, and it's like, oh my God, I'm so glad I, like, said that. If it starts to feel more like that than like the frustrated part, there's still parts that I could edit endlessly, but, like, for the most part, I feel like it accurately describes, like, what I'm trying to say and where my life went over this period of time. So yeah, it was more of an issue of just having it achieve this particular feeling of expressing myself, I guess. Hi, Lucy. I love that face.
I'll give you a break here for a second, as I've got one for Donna. Donna asks, what's your favorite story of Allie growing up?
You mean from the stories that are in the book?
I would think it would. Yeah. If there's one that you want to share, feel free, Mom.
God. Which one? Well, my favorite memories are, we had the flop house. And that was one of my favorite things. Both of the kids were on sport teams. Allie, I don't know, she doesn't talk about it very much, but she was an elite runner. She was the top runner in her high school for distance for a long time. So she was on the track and cross country teams, and Katie was on soccer and basketball. And so all the sport kids would end up at our house for sleepovers. So I'd have my floor just littered with girls and blankets and pillows and popcorn and giggling. And it was just awesome, good fun. Those are some of my favorite times in the world.
Those are my favorite times too.
Yeah. Stories. Well, some of them you probably wouldn't want me to share, but
you can share any of them, Mom. Like, I'm probably going to share this stuff at some point anyway. Like, just like, if you guys find out spoilers ahead of time, don't be mad.
Well, there was that time when you were 2 years old and got lost. Got a few.
Was that a day when I went in the bathroom? Was it like a blue bathroom? Was I in, like, the men's bathroom?
Well, we went to a mommy and me class, and
was it the one that had the rainbow parachute?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You actually remember
I do.
I think I was pregnant with Katie. Remember Carlos?
Oh, of course I remember Carlos.
We went with Carlos and Vicky, and
My first phone call was with Carlos. Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And anyway, Lucy. Anyway, you just took off. I mean, I turned around for a second, and there were a bunch of firemen. They were having some conference at the other end of this big community hall, and there were a bunch of firemen. They were on this break from this thing, so there were all these men lurking about the hallways, drinking coffee and whatnot. And all of a sudden, Allie's gone. And anyway, we looked. We had everybody looking for her. In my mind, she got kidnapped and taken and by one of the firemen. It was scary being a parent. It's scary being a parent. You have to be careful.
I was in the bathroom?
You were in the bathroom and you were afraid because everybody was yelling. You pushed the door open but didn't have the strength to open it the other way.
Oh.
And anyway, I ended up with my head between my knees, and the firemen were giving me oxygen because that wasn't my favorite story. But that was.
I would run off. Didn't you have to get a leash for me?
Yes, I did. I did use a leash. Yes, I did. I'm not proud to admit that, but my daughter.
No, you had to. You had to. As a child who has been leashed, I understand. Like it was necessary because otherwise I would do shit like that.
Well, you remember I made it. I finger knitted it. It was a humane. It was a
I do remember feeling what is going on? What is this like? I don't remember the leash itself. Was it like yellow and blue?
Red.
It was red. Okay. I'm
red. And your little arms went through it, and I held on to the other side.
I had a harness.
It was like a harness, yeah. So I could walk in public with you and not be afraid. It happened after that incident. Not be afraid that you would dart off. At least, you
are a beautiful human being. You are so beautiful.
Well, I am a fierce mother. I think. I had thought of a story, and then that went out of my head. It was in one of your books.
Take a second.
Oh, the fish. Revival.
Yeah.
That has to be one of my favorites.
You're gonna have to specify which fish story, probably, because for some reason I have a huge amount of fish stories.
I'm pretty sure it was in Hyperbole when you were trying to resurrect the fish.
The one, it's in this book. It's in this book.
It's in this book.
The fish video where I have the friend fish.
That was one of my favorite stories. So I was really super pregnant with Katie. I mean, I think I was about ready to pop with her, and we took you to the Santa Cruz boardwalk because your Aunt Lori lived there. And so we're rolling on the boardwalk, and you were 3 years and 2 months when Katie was born. So you were about 3. And, they have seals at the Santa Cruz boardwalk, and you can buy a little packet full of fish to feed. They're dead fish, but to feed the seals. So you throw them over there, and the seals go, and it's fun to watch. So we buy her this little packet of these whole fish that are dead to give to the seal. And we go over there, and I gave her one to throw over the edge, and she just started looking at it, and she looked at it and looked at it, and we kept saying, just throw it over the edge, let's feed the seals. But no, she walked away from the seals, and she walked over to the sidewalk, and she sat down with this fish, and she put it on the ground and looked at it and petted it and talked to it. And people were starting to come by. I remember this little Oriental girl. Do you remember she was a little girl. She was maybe 6 years old, and she's looking at you and screwed up her little face and went, ew, and walked
I remember it from seeing the video later that did she have like a little pink coat? Yes,
she had a pink coat.
Yeah.
And anyway, you held it up to the light, and you were trying to resurrect the fish and make it live again. And it was getting a little weird. People were stopping to look, and so I started to use manipulations like, oh, listen to the seals, they're so hungry, they really want their fish, let's go feed those poor hungry seals. And but you weren't having any of it. You were trying everything to get that fish to live again. And I'm not sure exactly how we got you to let go of it, but it took a long time.
Yeah, I remember the Mr. Sea Lion, like you created this whole story where he was going to play with his friend.
Yeah. Yeah. So I finally got you to do it, and it's like, never did that again. That's one of my favorites, though. And we got it all on film.
And
And
I
then
was able to write about it because of that.
somebody was talking about how the Kenny Loggins The Christmas Play story was one of their favorites. And I filmed that whole thing. Allie, do you still have that?
So I don't know if it's in a box in my garage or if it's one that you still have. I don't have a VCR anymore.
We do.
Okay, so maybe we can store them if I
bring
find
that
them.
box, because I don't want to lose that. But
Dad's performance is particularly notable, I feel.
Well, the performance was pretty good. I mean, I filmed the whole thing, and I sometimes the camera shook because I was laughing so hard. She took it so seriously. This was like so serious for her. And everybody was having cocktails. Everybody was just.
Grandma and Lori were like beside, like they were falling over, like.
They were and you were so incensed when you asked them to bring gifts to the baby Jesus, which was a Cabbage Patch doll, I think, or
was that what?
It was a Waldorf doll, one of the Waldorf dolls that I made for you. But anyway, and they just grabbed things off that were close by, and one was a grandma's cigarette case, and the other one was a Kenny Loggins tape, and so they made a big deal, and they're of course riding on the hobby horses.
Oh yeah, because we had the horses.
The hobby horses. And so anyway, so they bring the Kenny Loggins tape and the cigarette case over as gifts for the baby Jesus, and you were incensed that they were so incensed.
Nice pun, Mom. Nice pun.
Oh, sorry. That was funny and you didn't know it. But that was truly hilarious. I mean, I think you were very angry.
I remember I was furious. You guys were imposing on my moment. I was like,
you were definitely directing that whole thing, and nobody was biting on any of it. It was pretty.
What about dark and stormy night stories? I feel like you liked that.
Oh, it was a dark and stormy night. Yeah.
This is, if anybody wants the origin story for like where my storytelling started, this would be the origin story. This is how she.
Oh, I don't remember the story.
Just the general, we did the dark and stormy night stories. I used to tell stories about Rudolph. Remember?
Yes.
That was like the main character in all of them.
Oh yeah, we did all kinds of fun stories. And I loved reading to you guys, and I have to tell you, you really hurt my feelings when you guys were 12. You were like 12 or 13 years old, and one of you, I don't remember if it was you or Katie, that said, "Mom, it's okay. You don't have to read to us anymore." I felt like
I said it like that. Oh my God, that's cold.
Well,
it's so cold.
You guys were starting to notice boys and stuff like that, and I'm still reading you stories, and it's like I got more out of it, I think, than you did. But finally, I was fired, and I read to David now, so I found another victim.
and you can, Mom, when we move down there, you can read to me. I would love. We should read to each other. We should trade books trade a book back and forth. And
I love reading out loud. I love reading out loud.
Let's read a book together. Let's do.
Keep buying books, everybody, and read to
books. Books are good. Books bring mothers and daughters together.
Well, just anybody, and they make miles go fast. I always bring a book when we're traveling.
Dude, I remember books on tape when we would travel.
Mm-hmm.
I always had books on tape.
It's a little hard to read when you're driving. Anyway,
are people getting tired? I'm seeing people saying that people are signing off. Is this, and how are you doing, Emily? Are you hanging in there?
I'm here for whatever you guys want to do. This is great.
Keep going.
Questions, you can talk, we can end this, whatever you prefer.
It's fun. I like the like realness of talking to you on camera, Mom. And I think it's fun, like you're a character. Like I write about you a lot, and in future projects, I have most of this chapter done. there's a whole chapter just about you. And so people will,
Do I still have the crazy 80s hair?
you always have the crazy 80s hair because
Okay.
that's how you were in my childhood.
Okay.
And it would be
That's-
confusing. If I start drawing you a different way, it will be confusing for people.
Okay. Yeah, but my mom, your grandma, used to perm everybody's hair. Everybody came over for perm.
I remember you and Dad and Grandma and Lori. I even got a perm at one point.
Yeah, yeah.
When
We
I
all
was,
have
I was
perfectly,
like 16, but
we all have perfectly straight hair, but in the 80s that was not acceptable. So, you know, we did the 80s thing.
and I had a mullet.
Yes, yes. You, oh God, trying to comb your hair out, you had to have that haircut, honey.
I understand. I understand. Are there any questions that we could get for, like, this is sort of like a me and my mom and Emily event now. Are there any questions that, like, we could answer as a group?
Let's see if I've got some questions in here. There's a lot of questions about your blanket fort in here. People really want to know, like, what you're keeping in your blanket fort.
All right, so let's specific questions. I can work with that. Are we wanting to see, like, the whole setup?
I'm seeing questions about what's in the blanket fort. I'm seeing questions about the quilt because it sounds like there's a story there. Donna, you
My
mentioned
mother made the quilt. That one was for what, a birthday, or was it for when when Duncan and I got married? This one.
That one was for you when Duncan and you got married.
Okay.
I made the the running one with all the quotes on it. That was when you were in high school.
Yeah, and that's the one I've trucked about all throughout life. And this was Christmas, maybe?
Yes.
Okay. And I use this blanket has been touching my body constantly for almost every day since she made it.
And hopefully you wash it once in a while.
Occasionally. It is very occasional. But let me see if I can demonstrate the blanket for it. So first of all, we will look at my little side table here, which has a lamp and food. We've got some chocolate chips, like a chocolate chip bag. Got a peanut butter.
That's not food.
It is calories, Mom.
It's calories, but it's not food. Sorry.
What about peanut butter, though? What about peanut butter?
Peanut butter's got protein. Yep.
So I try to balance it. Try to do a little bit of, like, if I'm going to have this, have a little bit of this with it too.
Where's the big salad bowl?
What?
Where's the big salad bowl?
The big salad bowl?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I'd like to see a big salad bowl on that table.
Oh, okay. You're saying I don't have a big salad bowl on the table. I cleaned up since the salad bowl.
Man does not live by chocolate and peanut butter alone. At least not
I made a whole bowl of edamame last night.
Okay.
And ate it. It was a large bowl. It was like a full package of it. So I do have vegetables. I've been having vegetables.
I'll stop nagging you now. But you are the one that called me the vegetable Nazi, and I've been trying to live up to it.
Did I even know what a Nazi was at that point?
I don't know, but you called me a vegetable.
We have the blanket fort in a zoomed out view. We have I have some stuffed animals. This is Chuck. Chuck is my buddy. I made Chuck.
Okay, that's another story I can interject here.
Oh my goodness. Okay, this is the world's gonna find out about this eventually. Go ahead, Mom. We have
So yeah, I think I'm probably the only mother on the planet whose child, and I'm grateful that my kids, when they came home from school, because we lived out in the forest, they didn't have a lot to do. And so they did artistic things. And I always provided them with tons of all kinds of artistic materials, anything they wanted. And Allie decided she liked to sew. And so she'd make up these patterns. And she also loved animals and she wanted to be a vet. So she would sew these little animals with felt and just literally hundreds of them. Did you ever count how many you'd made?
No, but I have a tub full of them in my living room. And they are anatomically correct. They have organs and dicks. And
So anyway, I would find on my calendar, not every mother has gestation periods for puppies on their calendar. And she would make little itty bitty puppies. They were about that big, like 6 or 7 of them. And she would shove them up the mother dog,
The mother dog.
sew it up.
I
And
wanted
then-
a puppy surprise when I was a child. And does anybody from the 80s remember Puppy Surprise? It was like a stuffed dog that had babies in it. And I saw a commercial for it and I wanted it so bad. And I think it was like maybe you thought it was like too mainstream or too like what is this sending? What message is this sending to my daughter about the role of women?
Remember it, honey. I honestly don't remember it. But on the appointed day, the puppies would come out by Tweezer, and all of her anatomically correct dogs she knew their histories, she knew their names. Some of them would cut their legs off and put blood around it because they had an injury, and she had to sew it up. And I mean,
yeah, they had medical charts, medical records. I was taking my future job as a vet very seriously, and as you can see, it turned out exactly as I was.
And as it turns out, there were 2 female veterinarians that were parents at the Waldorf school, and they found out what she was doing. And one of the vets asked her to make an anatomically correct dog that's life size. So she, you used yards and yards of black felt making this black lab that she used electrical wiring for bones, and she had brains, and she would program them with the things that they were going to learn on crumpled up pieces of paper and shove them in the brain. But this particular dog, she was a little bit older. Remember Dawn?
Yeah, of course I remember Dawn.
And so, she made femodo teeth and a tongue, and it had an esophagus and a stomach and a rectum. And you literally could pull a piece of food.
I sewed the butthole too.
Yeah, it's all the way through. But what the veterinarian wanted this for is when she had preschoolers and little children come through for tours at the vet office, she did a surgery on the dog. And so she would cut it open and show, the different body parts inside.
It was less traumatizing than a real surgery, which I got to witness. And probably because of that experience, it was necessary to make this dog.
But yeah, these veterinarians just loved her, and they would give her, actual vet things like the, things that they use in the office. And she had a little veterinarian office.
They were really nice.
Yeah, Vet and Marie. Dawn and Marie, the 2 vets. Yeah. And she would bring her little anatomically correct dogs in there, and then she'd come out later and say, so-and-so was hit by a car and lost a leg. And
they had stories, they had drama, like they were in groups and out groups. Like I spend a lot of time alone, I think, and it was making like friends to have.
Yeah, well, you weren't getting into trouble. But
it's true.
Those dogs that she's got there, she made them.
I made them. They don't have organs or dicks. Chuck is biologically a male, or he identifies as a, but he doesn't have. I never made him a dick, but he is a wolf. I saw people asking what he is. He's not Wolfie. No, Wolfie. Wolfie is somewhere else.
Wolfie's the one that I did the calendar with Holly for Lori, I think. Wolfie
Probably. I did Wolfie in high school.
Holly. Yeah, it was Wolfie.
But this is Chuck. He's kind of like a body pillow. And then what else do I have before? This doesn't have a name yet. But this is another thing I made that I just kind of like wanted a creature.
Looks like a ferret.
Yeah, it could be a ferret of some kind, but maybe we can name. Mom, what would you name this?
Ooh, Bug-Eye.
But all right, his name is Bug-Eye. You heard it here first. It's Bug-Eye. Banjo, but Banjo's gonna be the middle name. Bug-Eye Banjo. What's the last name?
Floor Banana.
Floor Banana. All right, Bug-Eye Banjo Floor Banana is the protector of the fort. Chuck doesn't really protect the fort. Chuck just hangs out in it. Chuck's a pacifist. What else do we have? We've got paper and pencils. I have my cashew and its shell friend in their bed. This is, Mom, I don't know if you've been on
I
Instagram
haven't
yet,
seen
but
that.
these
What
are,
is that?
this is my cashew. It's and I drew a face on it. And this is a seashell that I also drew a face on. And they are characters, and they have a friend who people have been on Instagram have been asking what happened to Tomato Snowman. Tomato Snowman is still with us. His form has changed quite dramatically. He is shriveled.
What
But
is it?
It used to be, he's tomatoes. There's a Q-tip that I
Oh
shoved
my
up
God.
through, and this is a twisty tie. And then he had a little face thrown on him. But he is still with us. He doesn't hang out in the tin because he would get goop on everybody, and but they understand. He understands why he has to not be in the tin.
Give him time, honey. He won't be goopy forever.
What else do I have in my fort? Got some lights. They get too hot, and so I turn them off. Couple books, and an earlier pass of the manuscript, which is right here. And that's what books look like when before they look like this. They look like this. And I'm using it as a stand. All right, do we have any more group questions?
I'm trying to we're wrapping all of the questions kind of into a couple.
Thank you for doing this, Emily. This is amazing.
This is amazing. This has been amazing.
This is really fun.
So to kind of wrap a bunch of them up, let's see. A lot of people are asking about kids or saying that they've shared this with their kids or with kids that they teach. So how do you feel about children, like small children under 10, reading your work? And do you have any advice for young children with anxiety?
Okay, so my mom would also be very helpful in answering this. My thoughts. I'm not a mother, nor will I ever be. I don't have the machinery any longer. But I have been a kid, and I care a lot about kids. I think kids are very important to raise, right, and educate. And I'm not a parent, so this is just my personal opinion on the matter. I think in general, it's good to talk about things and good to have things out there and practice dealing with them. That was something that my mom raised me with, we weren't allowed to watch sex scenes in movies or anything like that. We would cover our eyes, but like if we had questions, we could ask her, and she'd always tell us. My grandma would swear. She gradually learned how to say God bless it, or like what else would grandma say instead of
Dear father, or fudge, or shite. She said shite sometimes. But you remember you weren't even allowed access. You didn't even watch TV for a long time.
For a long time, yeah.
We didn't have a computer in the house. We were a Waldorf family,
But I think that there's like you exposed us to some stuff, or like you're at least open to talking about it. And I think like maybe that would be the thought, is like just you as a parent want to share it with your kids. Like I wrote stuff with knowing that children would potentially read it. There's even a portion of the book specifically directed at children. And I think that with the proper context, it's possible to talk about anything, just in general. Like I feel like I could have talked to my mom about anything, or asked, like, you remember when Cedar died, Mom?
Yeah.
This was a pet rat that I had. My like she was my best little friend. I loved this little rat more than any animal. And she choked. She choked on something, and I know she was gasping, and this was when I was like 8 or 9, And
I think that's just how they expire when they're.
It felt sudden. I remember it was.
But she was.
But yeah, she died in my hands, with my mom there with me, and I think the way you handled it was really beautiful, Mom. Like it's a hard thing to handle, like a child's first experience of death, or first, like, especially one that's so, like, you know, it was traumatic, or it could have been traumatic, but we talked about it, and we talked about death. And you know, you read me the Badger book.
Yes, the Badger book was awesome.
What's it called?
I can't remember the title, but yeah, it was Badger's Parting Gift. That's what it was.
Badger's Parting Gift. There we go. Okay, Badger's Parting Gift. It's and yeah. So if it's something like I guess I would say, if you don't want your kids to know the words like fuck or shit, like cross them out, maybe with a Sharpie or anything like that. But yeah, up to your comfort level. I think a lot of the, like, more traumatic moments in the book, a child wouldn't necessarily understand yet, and so it wouldn't be like as I don't know. As far as for anxious children, man, mom, you're gonna need to take that one. I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of the stuff in your book wouldn't be understood by very young children. Older children, maybe. Um, Dealing with anxiety. Reassurance, obviously, that, you know, that everything is okay, and validation that it's okay to feel that way, that it won't be forever. You know, you're not always going to feel this way. It will pass. And lots of touch, holding.
Yeah, just creating like a safe space.
Yeah, and of course a blanket fort.
Yeah, I guess we'd make forts, or like nests. We always made.
Oh, all the time.
When I was feeling anxious throughout childhood, I would make a nest on the floor next to my mom's bed. Mm-hmm. Once I was too big to sleep in the bed.
Oh yeah, I remember those. Yeah, nests are good.
Yeah, it's tough with like a child who has anxiety, because to the person who asked the question, how old?
I'm seeing some kind of related questions here.
Sorry.
No worries.
I'm hiding my video.
You're welcome. You can be on video. Everybody knows you're there now. You might as well be on video.
The age was like 5, 6, and 9-year-olds were the
5, 6,
ages. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak. I don't know that I would be able to give like good advice. I can talk a bit about my experience of anxiety, but I don't know how much that would apply to children. So like, take this with a grain of salt. Consult but I don't want to leave anybody hanging, so I want to say something. A lot of times for me with anxiety, it is just kind of about pulling back from the moment and grounding. And so things like in my talk with Mark Maron the other night, we were talking about a big moment for him was saying, like, I'm just a guy on a couch. And that is very much my experience of, like, if I'm super, super anxious, just reminding myself of where I am, and that where I am is safe and where I am is okay. And maybe learning how to self-soothe a bit, learning skills for like if you're feeling, and I don't know like how this would go for, say, a 5-year-old, but I imagine it would be somewhat possible to like get an idea of like what is comforting, what feels like what helps with the anxiety? What is an immediate thing that can make this like horrible, scary feeling just put a little bit of a stop in it, I guess. Like that's how I deal with anxiety as an adult, but it might be just like too, yeah, I don't know. Any thoughts, either of you?
I think that was great. I think that idea of helping people ground themselves, you do a great job of answering.
Thank you. Well, are we ready to wrap up? We take one more question?
Yeah, I thought I could
Maybe.
wrap this up with kind of a fun one, because I think
Yeah.
more than anything recently, I see all of these calls for you guys to have a podcast, for you to have a TV series, for you to go on your own tour together. So I think, to kind of wrap a lot of this into one, have you ever considered doing a podcast, or do you have any plans for animating your stories, or kind of what's coming next?
So I definitely would like to do something like not animating stories because of the whole Garfield thing. Like I think it would be hard to give voices to characters. I might do like a silent thing if I could figure out how to do that. But as far as podcast type stuff, there is an unshaped project that I've been working on for a while. And are people asking specifically about my mom and I doing a?
They're asking about you too, but I think, Donna, you've been such a hit that everyone wants to see you involved in this.
That's amazing.
Well, I mean, if my mom is down, I would be down to explore that kind of stuff. Like that's I think we have a good relationship and we're comfortable around each other, and we could probably talk about some difficult things from like two different perspectives. We have two people who really understand each other, but who also like
are very different.
Yeah. And yeah, you might maybe actually be the perfect person to do that kind of thing with. Now that I think about it, if you'd be, again, no pressure, mother.
I would support you in any way that I can, Donna.
I know you would.
The Brosh cast.
Maybe we could tackle like difficult issues. Have me and my mother on to talk about difficult issues.
Something. Yeah, that would be awesome. I'd be down for that. Back to the animated thing. Do you remember that film you did?
It was Bear.
Yes. Do you still have that?
I don't have it.
If we ever find that, you should share that with people. That will crack anybody up.
I used to make videos to show my mom at the end of the day, and this was one of them. It was a Christmas ornament that was a bear that had adventures throughout the day. Oh,
it was hilarious. I mean, I almost wet myself after looking at that. It was really funny. We should find that. We'll go through that. We'll go through that box next time.
Yes, we will go through the box. Possibly, potentially a podcast. Don't expect anything super soon, but this like has certainly sparked my interest in the idea of doing a podcast with my mother.
It'll be different.
But that different's good. I like different.
Tell you what, I'll take a shower.
or not. Or we could just make it like, because I don't want to feel like I have to take a shower before our podcast. All right. Well, good night, everybody, and good night, Mother.
Thank you.
Let's reconvene.
Darling.
Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for being willing to to come up and answer questions with me.
It's definitely
so much.
Well, good night, everybody.
And thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Emily.
Bye.
And Powell's.
Thank you,
everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Britt.
Take care and have a good night.
Okay. Bye.